Aaron, if I say something bright, you'll have it on film or tape, and if I say something stupid, you'll erase it, correct?
Yeah. Well,
Maybe. I was surprised at 9:30 this morning to find that line, and it has not gotten shorter. Thank you so much for coming. I'm pleased as punch to see that we have this problem. I thought a half hour to get everybody seated would be enough, and obviously isn't. So we are going to run a little late, and I think we have the building long enough that we may have to extend our meeting a little longer, and if we have to do that, I hope most of you will stay. If you don't, then we'll understand.
who are you?
Who am I? Who am I? I'm not anybody terribly important. Yeah, well, let me just chat for a second. My name's Andy, by the way. I'm the state chairman. And I've run for Attorney General a few times. And I've been practicing law for 42 years. And I go into most courthouses, and everybody asks the same question, so who are you? And sometimes I've thought that perhaps I ought to be well enough known that somebody would say, hello, Mr. McCullough. Doesn't happen often, but we do the best we can to make as much noise as we can, and maybe somebody will notice us one of these days. I wanted to tell a little story, and I'm just chattering right now, actually, but my party treasurer, I'm probably going to give the treasurer's report in a couple of minutes myself, because the party treasurer chose going back to pick up the cookies over giving the treasurer's report, and good decision probably. I went down to the bakery a week ago to order these cookies. They're really good cookies. And I told the manager that I was chairman of the Libertarian Party and I needed cookies. And the gentleman standing right behind me asked me, what's the Libertarian Party? So I pulled out my card and I gave it to him, and I told him that we are fiscally conservative and socially liberal. And I said, and sometimes I get a little sort of impish with this. I said, for instance, I'm running for Attorney General and I want to legalize marijuana. His eyes lit up. And I had an instant, he says, I got arrested for that years ago, and I'm still mad. And so one more for our side. And I was thinking as over the last week, that I asked my sign maker if the next batch of signs I could put a marijuana leaf up in the corner, and he said he'd be glad to. And I know a lot of people would be irritated by that, but I've decided that at least for my constituency, my people would not be irritated by that. And so don't be shocked if you see something like that happening. When you ask, who are you? We have to do something to be noticed. And I'm going to tell another quick little story, because we're just still unofficial here. Several years ago, when I ran for Attorney General before, and Jim Dexter here in the green jacket was chairman, I did a fundraiser in a strip club. And and I got an email from somebody who said, would you please come by my house at your earliest opportunity and pick up this yard sign that I have now taken out of my yard and put in the garage because I can't be associated with this. And okay, so I lost the supporter, but I made the front cover of the Salt Lake Tribune. Now just think for a minute what a libertarian has to do to make the front page of the Salt Lake Tribune. You know what? I think probably on balance it's sort of like the decision between making a treasurer's report are going to get cookies. Probably I made the right choice. So, Jim, maybe we'll have to do that again this year. Yeah. All right. Well, 2 of us will be there anyway. So keep an eye out for it. We still have. Oh, what did they say across the hall?
Hours, 30 minutes.
So go an extra 30 minutes is.
We should be okay.
Okay, fine. We're likely to be extending by a half hour because we're likely to be starting. Yeah, but consider us started. My first 10 minutes is greeting. Consider yourself greeted. Well, does it matter? We got lots of things to do and we got to get it all in, and that's the only thing. We're doing our best. And really the first item of official business. Well, let me give the. I'm going to go ahead and give the treasurer's report and a couple of other things, and then the first item of official business will be to nominate some candidates, and the first one will be Brian, who's running for governor, and Brian is sitting right outside there signing people in, and I certainly would like him here in the room when we do that. So I don't know, maybe we'll have to work around it. Jim, would you be ready to do your candidate 3 or 4 minutes in a minute or two? Yeah, maybe we'll just kind of go around in a circle. Well, I'm not going to do anything that takes a vote at this moment, but I am going to officially say that we are here and we are meeting and we are in session. And for those who are just coming in and still want to know who I am, I'm Andy McCullough. I'm the state chairman. I believe this is my 3rd time as state chairman, but I don't come close to Mr. Dexter, who was, what, 5 times or? About 3 times as well? Okay, well, I am getting close then, aren't I? I promise I'm not going to do this again. So, anyway, this is the Libertarian Party. I already told you in my little warm-up story there what the Libertarian Party stands for. We are fiscally conservative. We are socially liberal. We do not like to spend people's money on taxes, and we don't like the government much telling us what to do. If you tend to generally agree with those sorts of things, you're in the right place. And if you're not sure you agree, stick around because maybe we will convince you. Now let me tell you, one of the things I've said a number of times over the years is I try and not be seen in public with Republicans. Nevertheless, in about an hour, our keynote speaker will be Senator Mark Madsen, who is a Republican. And Senator Madsen is over at his convention right now. But the reason I invited him today to speak to us, and I, just out of curiosity, show of hands, guess why you think you know why I invited Senator Madsen. A small number. Okay, for those who don't know. By the way, these glasses, I can read really well. When I look up, they're all a blur, so I may be taking them on and off and putting them on. Senator Madsen spent the last year and a half working on a medical marijuana bill. It was his pride and joy. A year ago, it failed by 1 vote in the Utah State Senate. This year, it passed the state Senate, and bogged down in the House when they figured out they needed to spend some money on it, and they didn't want to spend money, so at the very last minute it went away. Senator Madsen is not running for re-election, so the fact that he is a Republican is a whole lot less bothersome to me than if he were. He is my state senator, by the way, and I think he's a wonderful guy. So we will be having a Republican here in a few minutes. And we will be having a good friend of mine come and do a couple of musical numbers, and it should be an interesting, enjoyable little convention. I considered it, Jim, but we'll do that another time. Anyway, let me just start out. I'm about to give the treasurer's report, and I want to preface that with, when I did my own campaign report to the state this past week, I looked up my opponent's plans or reports, and the current Attorney General, Mr. Reyes, brought $250,000 over from 2 years ago to his campaign. And then he had this many contributions on his list, and maybe only 4 or 5 of them were under $1,000. Big law firms, big corporations. Ones that jumped out at me were Vivint, Coca-Cola, can't remember the other, and big national law firms that want to do business with the state of Utah. As you might guess, we're a bit smaller. Our campaigns are a bit smaller. So are the Democrats. Some people say, well, we should vote Democrat because they have a better chance of winning. They do not have a better chance of winning. They may get a few more votes in some races. They do not have a better chance of winning. So we are here to pass on our message. And I intend to make as much noise as I possibly can this year. I'm going to ask for your help in making noise as well. Maybe I'll out some marijuana stickers, not marijuana. I have a few clients that if they were here today could help us, but I don't think they are. So I'm excusing the treasurer for a few minutes, and David Rain, standing right here, is the vice chairman of the party, and the secretary of the party, Brian Camareth, is sitting out there still signing people in. The treasurer of the party is not here at the moment, but she is on a very important mission, and some of you know that. She is off getting the cookies that were not quite baked when I went by to get them this morning. And so I am going to give the treasurer's report. I got on yesterday to pull the numbers off, and I found that we had 13 new members in the last 2 days before, and I had just a few days earlier processed about 15 or 20. And I know that you've been processing memberships today, haven't you?
Right. We've got a number of new people today. There's about a bunch of donations. We should have quite a few donations just at 6 o'clock a.m. and 6 a.m. this morning on our PayPal.
Yeah, I mean, last night it was quite a nice list. And thank you so much for coming. Thank you so much for donating. Thank you so much for being interested. We are going to make some noise this year, and I'm really excited. As of yesterday, the Treasury had $11,416.94. And one thing I will pledge to you is that we will use as much of it as we can for directly supporting candidates and directly supporting the party activities. We did spend a few dollars on cookies today, so if you want to, throw a couple of bucks into the box upstairs to help that, you can. I actually kind of hesitated in writing a check for that. Cookies, they're not going to get us elected, and I thought, yeah, they probably are. They're going to make us a little bit more excited and a little bit more full of energy to get our job done. So other than that, we are very, very fiscally conservative. We are not going to spend your money on frivolities, and we intend to be heard. So, Jim, maybe I could ask you, the next item of business is to introduce candidates. And I'm going to give candidates a couple of minutes to talk, tell you who they are, what they're running for, and so on. And then we're going to have a vote. And as libertarians, we have a tradition that we vote yes or no. We call it NOTA, none of the above. I went to the national convention a couple of years ago, and NOTA won the national chairmanship, and it was a little chaotic for a minute there, but we ended up finding somebody. Let me just tell you a couple of things before I introduce the first candidate, and I'm picking on Jim because normally it would be Brian, and Brian is still outside. The party is qualified for the ballot, which means you can go in November and find a Libertarian Party candidate and vote for him very easily for a number of offices. Obviously, we don't have candidates for every office, but we have candidates for a number of offices. And traditionally in Utah, party access, ballot access, is by statewide race. Every 4 years, if we get at least 2% of the vote in a statewide race, we maintain our ballot for 2 years. So now, is Rob here? Rob, a couple.
Any race will get you there, and it's now 4 years.
Yes, Rob a couple of years ago found a sympathetic Republican in the legislature to sponsor a bill that could extend us for 4 years. So now, if we get a candidate with 2% of the vote in 4 years, or this year, then we're on the ballot for 4, which is particularly important because there really are no statewide races in 2 years. And if we didn't have this 4-year thing, we'd be scrambling. So I tell you that because we do have, at this point, 2 candidates for statewide office. Brian is running for governor, and Barry Short, Barry, it's right there, is running for lieutenant governor. That ticket needs to have 2% of the vote to keep us on the ballot, or in the alternative, our candidate for attorney general needs to have 2% of the vote. My personal hope is that the largest building, largest enclosure in the state of Utah is the BYU stadium. It seats 63,700. That's my goal. I want 63,700 supporters so that I can envision not an empty seat at BYU. At any rate, keep that in mind. The statewide races are what keeps the party a party. The local races are extremely important as well, but the statewide races are what keep the party functioning. So because Brian is still outside, I'm going to introduce our first candidate for state senate, and that's Jim Dexter. Two or 3 minutes, Jim. A lot of people ought to know Jim. He was the state chairman, he says 3 times. I would have thought it was longer, but maybe it just seemed longer, yeah.
Well, with that hearty introduction, I will go right ahead and tell you once more, I am Jim Dexter, and you're not, so. You may have seen these signs around before when I ran for U.S. Senate against Orrin Hatch. Now I have a few left over, amazingly enough, and I'm going to get someone to cleverly change this to UT6, because I'm running for state senate in Taylorsville. Wayne Harper has been there too long. as Mike Watts before him was. But what Wayne Harper has done to get me out of my doldrums and get me more activated back into politics is voting for things like moving the prison and spending 53 million Utah taxpayer dollars on a coal port in California to benefit a nation that exports coal itself. Not only that, but he's voted $14 million for the state of Utah to try to get the national parks away from the federal government. I don't know about you, but if you go to a state park, it's not very well run. And they want to bring that same kind of lackadaisical management to the federal lands by getting the state to take them over. And then let's look at that debacle known as the DABC. This is such a mishmash of hodgepodge of having people who don't drink run the alcohol business, people who do, it's outrageous. So I'm running simply to get rid of Wayne Harper. Am I going to run hard? Hell no. I'm going to be a placeholder. I'm not going to really do a big job of running, but I am going to be there on the ballot, and I'm going to give the people of Taylorsville an opportunity to decide whether they want to keep the same guy or elect someone who actually knows a little bit about how a government should be run as minimally as possible for the benefit of everyone. I encourage your vote, and if you want to donate to my campaign, feel free, and I will take any questions. It is Taylorsville, District 6, Senate District 6, all of Taylorsville, which amazingly enough is Utah's 6th largest city, or used to be. I think maybe 7. Anyway, that's my story, and I'm sticking to it. Thank you very much.
Let us consider Mr. Dexter nominated for Senate District number 6 in Taylorsville. We are not going to restrict voting today to people who live in Taylorsville. I don't know how many there would be here, but probably not that many. So I would ask for a vote of acceptance for Jim as our candidate for State Senate District 6 in Taylorsville, and I'll do that by a show of hands in the affirmative. Or yeah, we have our ballots. Cool. No. And anyone opposed? Okay. Three opposed? Okay. I just asked him to take notes on this and he walked out. Okay, did you get the notes? Yes. 3 notes? 3, okay. Craig, I'm going to call you down in just a second. But before I do, I'm going to stand in for my longtime friend, Joseph Buckman. Joe was, when I was chairman, before he was the vice chairman, he's a longtime member of the Libertarian Party. He is not here today, and perhaps he has even a better reason than going to eat cookies. His father passed away this past week in Indiana. He is back there doing family business. He promised that he would run an active campaign. He is running for state senate in District 14, which is American Fork. And the Republicans will have a primary in that district. The Democrats will not be running anybody. Jim, do you have a Democratic opponent? Don't know. Okay. Well, we know that Joe does not, and I'm always glad to see situations where we run candidates when there is no Democrat running, because, well, you know we're a one-party state, and you know that the Democrats do not run candidates in a lot of places. And I live in Utah County, and when I go to vote, I don't have any choices. And I'm very grateful to Joe for giving us a choice in Senate District 14 in American Fork. As I say, he's a longtime Libertarian and former state vice chair, and probably many of you know him. And so I'm going to, unless questions or whatever on Joe, are there questions? Okay, I'm going to move then for the acceptance as candidate in Senate District 14, Utah County, Dr. Joseph Bookman, and ask once again for a show of support. I'm not going to count exactly, probably. Once again, those who oppose. I see no opposition to that. Okay, Brian is getting close to coming in, but he's not in yet. So, so we'll do the next candidate right now, and it's a not statewide, but it's a big part of the state. So, Craig, I'm going to give you 5 minutes and ask you to introduce yourself. Senate district or House District number 1 in the northern part of the state, and then we'll vote on him as well.
Thank you, Andy. So, for those of you who don't know me, my name is Craig Bowden, and I'm running for Utah's 1st Congressional District, running against Rob Bishop, and that basically encompasses all of northern Utah. Now, 2 years ago I ran for the exact same position, and I was standing here, well, I was in Draper, but I was standing before the party to ask for a vote again, and I am here to again ask for your guys' vote and your support. 2 years. So what has happened in those 2 years? Well, I can tell you that 2 years ago, when I was running, the national debt was at $18.6 trillion. If I were to be elected, the national debt is projected to be at $20.3 trillion. So where we're sitting is government is still failing to spend responsibly. It is my hope that I am going to be able to propose legislation that will limit government spending, especially when it comes to the waste. You know, when we're talking about studies being performed on the gas expulsions of earthworms, that's not the kind of stuff that the federal government needs to be funding. That is something that a private organization can do, and that is something that needs to be done. We don't need to be spending trillions of dollars, and especially $1 trillion more than what we even take in revenues. 2 years ago, they were talking about going back to Iraq and Syria, and now we're there. Now, this is a very personal issue for me because 10 years ago, I actually left my last set of boot prints in the sands of Iraq. And I just found out this morning that the unit that I left when I exited active duty is actually the one that has been tasked to be a ground combat element to fight ISIS. This has been going on for far too long, and it's time to bring people home. This year I'll also be turning 32. I may seem young, but I have a lot of experience. Now, in those 32 years, more than half of those we have spent in Afghanistan. Again, it's time to bring them home. We're talking about over a decade of our young men and women being sent over and sent back in flag draped coffins, and the cost is too much. We went and we did what we were supposed to do. The objective was to get Osama bin Laden. We did. It's done. It's time to bring him home. Now, a lot has not changed in the last 2 years. Obviously, we talked about government wasteful spending. We can also talk about how they're continuing to infringe on civil liberties. Just a few more miles down the road, we have the Draper NSA facility. Now, I don't know about you, but I like my privacy. And the common excuse is if you're doing nothing wrong, you have nothing to hide. Well, I'm sorry, but it's none of your business what I do. Now, on top of the civil liberties aspect, we also have to look at the environmental impact of that facility. Now, the most recent reports that I was able to find are that the Draper facility at maximum capacity would use 1.7 million gallons of water per day. Now, the state of Utah has a population of 2.9 million people. So literally what we are talking about is with the average person needing to drink about a half gallon of water a day, we are talking about using the hydration of every single citizen in Utah to cool down some computers. And we're one of the driest states. So one of my first acts, if I were to be elected, would be to introduce legislation that would remove that NSA facility. The last thing that I can really say is that I am very active and I care. I've been fighting for a long time. I'm going to continue to fight, and I need everyone to support. I'm the only federal candidate that I was aware of that's running in Utah. So that means that everybody here, whether you can support with your vote, sharing articles that are written, sharing things on social media, we can spread the word about this campaign. And I'm also asking everybody to step up and put money where their mouth is. This could be a winnable race, but the first thing we have to do is get into the debates. I can get into the debates with a minimum of 6% with their plus and minus that they use in the debate commission. If I can get into that debate, I know I can beat Bob Bishop. And that's what we aim to do. Thank you.
You didn't ask for questions. Does anybody have any questions from you?
I do apologize for that.
That's all right. Okay, apparently not. Thank you. All in favor of his candidacy, please show. Nice bunch of red things up there. That's great. And anyone opposed? No opposition. Brian, are we ready? Our next candidate that we're going to hear from is running for governor. This is Brian Camerath coming down right now. You have all seen him already this morning when you signed in. He is our state party secretary, which is what he's been doing, out secretarian. And we thank him very much for that. And sorry about the overwhelming number, but not really. Brian's been working hard this morning, and we're going to give him 5 more minutes to work hard, convincing you that he's a good candidate for governor. And then I'm going to give his running mate 2 minutes to say something as well, and then we'll go on from there.
Thank you very much. It's good to see you all here. Things I can say about myself that I think will help you understand me a little better. I'm a native Utah, grown up here. Yes, I am LDS. I am libertarian. I don't think it's my place to tell other people how to live their life. That's simple. want the government out of people's lives. I don't want us to have to deal with a lot of these silly fights that, unfortunately, Gary Herbert has seemed to take exception to and think need to be had. What you do in your home with your marijuana, your porn, whatever else, that's your business. I don't care. That's your thing. At the moment right now, I'm going to apologize too. I'm having a little bit of migraine issues with some silent migraine auras, for those of you that may be familiar with that. So I'm not going to try to read anything that I have printed out right now. I do have some flyers out on the table there. Does anybody have any questions for me, though, they would like to ask?
Hi. Congratulations on running. I know it's going to be a tough election. You've got Dr. Shelton as well as others that you've got some tough opponents this year. Can you kind of tell us a little bit about what you're doing for fundraising on a state level and how we can help you get involved with your campaign?
Okay, yes, I do have, and I've listed this on my flyers that I had out there. I have an account set up with Heritage West Credit Union. You can go and donate directly there. I've also got an Anadot account, so we can take donations through Anadot. I'm also
Facebook page.
that's on my Facebook page as well. We are set up. I've got a folder here where I've been taking the cash payments for dues. So anybody that would like to make cash donations to candidates today, we can take those as well. And we will get those noted and accounted for the appropriate candidates. So yes, we are set up with a number of ways to help out all of our candidates that way.
Personally, for your campaign, have you had any donations at all from other than individuals in the fundraising efforts as far as campaign goes?
Yeah. I have not set up and started any calls for fundraising that way. I was going to get going much heavier and harder with that after our convention today. You know, just because of the logistics there. You know, NOTA can always win, right? Any other questions?
So you know that you're this Governor Herbert is here to what do you want to do if you
Okay. Some of the key things that I would like to address, I think number one is healthcare. I think everybody has some huge healthcare concerns because the way things have been run is just making the problem worse. You have car insurance, and when you have to use that car insurance, it doesn't change when you change jobs, right? And so part of I think what we need to get to there is health insurance operating like car insurance. And I would like to push things in that direction so that people can maintain their health insurance in that regard. And if there are reasons that different health insurance companies want to have riders for whatever issues, they can do that. And that gives the market an opportunity to insure the people they want to insure, and people can shop around. We get the Geico commercial, right? 15 minutes or more could save you 15% or more on your health insurance. Imagine that as opposed to the nightmare we have now. Try and get a straight price out of somebody on the cost of your care. This is one big reason why I think the Surgical Center of Oklahoma is being so successful with getting people across the country going to Oklahoma for surgery there, paying cash, and doing so for a fraction of the cost you might pay staying in your home state for the same surgeries. It's ridiculous because it's a Ponzi scheme that is just about paying a system, and they're setting things up more to do that than to actually take care of us. Does that answer your
That
question?
brings up a question for me.
Okay.
What do you think is the state's most serious health crisis right now? or do you happen to particularly, let's say, agree with the government?
I'm going to bite my tongue and say that most
It was irresistible impulse, I'm sorry.
greatest health crisis that way is just sanity. Really. Pornography is not a health crisis. I'll go ahead and say it. I have 2 daughters because I visited the andrology department at the University of Utah, fertility clinic. Okay? I understand full well that side of problems that way. And I would challenge Gary Herbert to take his family values, walk up there and say, yeah, I'm here to help somebody have a family. Don't give me any manila folders with some porn in it. I'll just make a donation here. And I'm going to tell everybody how easy it is just from my own imagination. That's a little humiliating, a little daunting for someone to go in and do, to take care of, I'm here to be a dad, and not have something else to motivate along. That's the reality of life for a lot of people, and that's something that I don't think Gary Herbert has really thought out. That the exceptions in life, the people who need help and don't live within his happy little bubble, are not benefited by his moral pejoratives. And that's a huge problem. What I do for my religion, because of my religion, is my own business. And it's my responsibility to stay out of everybody else's religious decisions that way. So yes, I'm very hardcore that way on our issues. Yes. 30 years is a much bigger issue than green lights, yes.
I'll take one more. We're kind of need to move along. So the gentleman up there, yeah.
On his note, what do you feel like would be a good libertarian approach to cleaning up our areas and stuff like that?
We have to be short on this. I think we have to note that we do live in a valley, that there are things that people think we can do that really aren't going to help. We have to accept that, yes, there is going to be some collection of pollution in the air just as a function of us living here. Now, that said, I think we do have to make sure that the businesses are in line with appropriate regulations towards air quality and are motivated maybe with reduced tax rates or whatever else, that way that we can adjust to make those adjustments to help clean up the air. I've done work for MagCorp, and people want to talk a lot about cars and the pollution that cars put in the air. And I can tell you right now, MagCorp puts a lot of crap into our air because of their corporate greed, their willingness to just pay politicians off and say, yeah, let us pollute, let us pollute. They've spent days out there where they were releasing chlorine like every hour on the hour, basically, and you're getting this chlorine gas into the atmosphere and going, great, this is great for air quality, this is really going to help us out a lot, right? So I think there's a lot of businesses around us that are not really paying attention, and we need to put the thumb screw down on them. I think I'm well out of time here. Yeah.
Thank you. I want to be very short.
than 2 minutes here, so I'm going to talk fast. You know, I've run for the legislature from my district down in Iron County 3 times, and from having done that, I learned a lot of things about the elections process in this state. And that's why I've chosen to run for lieutenant governor this time, because unlike a lot of states, the lieutenant governor in Utah is not just a guy who checks on the governor's health to see if he's sick. He's actually in charge of all of the elections process for this state. And in the legislative session this past month, the topic came up of replacement of all of our voting machines throughout the state, because what we've got are quite old at this point, and obviously technology goes out of date. So whoever's elected lieutenant governor this time is going to have a very key role in deciding how elections are run in the state of Utah for the next decade or longer. And I want to have a hand in that, because there's so much more that we could be doing in this state to get people involved in the elections process, to make it easier. I mean, the Republicans and the Democrats ought to both be really interested in this. If they stood in line for their caucuses a couple of weeks ago, you know, where people were standing in line for hours, we've got to streamline that system. We've got to make it better. And the Lieutenant Governor's office can take the lead on that. I want to see us moved to ranked choice voting, not winner-take-all primaries, not winner-take-all elections. We're going to ranked choice so that we aren't defensive voting. We're going to be voting for the people we actually want to represent us. And that, I think, is a very important thing for the Lieutenant Governor to take a lead on in this. Another thing is that from those elections that I've run in before, one of the things that I've heard multiple times from people is that they don't trust the election system in this state. I've had time and time again, I've had somebody come to me and say, I don't vote, they've already decided who's going to win these elections. Well, in fact, I dug around a little bit on this, and there are procedures in place in the case of a contested election. But in fact, very few of our elections are close enough that anything ever goes to a challenge. Very rarely are any of the votes that are tabulated by the machines verified by hand. So I want to get a system in place to make sure that everybody is confident that when your vote is cast, it's recorded as exactly what you wanted it to be. It's not going to, nobody's going to question whether this system is all rigged. And so that is something that the Lieutenant Governor can take a lead on. One other thing that I want to talk about, and I know I'm probably pushing my time, but I want to say about this. I want to talk about something really libertarian here for a moment. I also want to talk about something about where I live compared to maybe where a lot of people here live, which is that I'm in rural Utah. We have a bicameral legislature in this state, but both houses of our legislature are allocated based on population. Now, if you think about that compared to the federal Congress, we have a House where everybody is roughly equally represented by population. We have a Senate where every state is equally populated. But our Senate does not represent the breadth of Utah. It, once again, represents the Salt Lake Valley. I'd like to see us get that changed. Now, that's a constitutional amendment that's going to be required to do that. But I want to reset the Senate so that it represents all the people of this state equally, and that when decisions are made by our legislature, they're an agreement between both the population base as in the Salt Lake Valley and all of the state, not just a system where what we have right now where both houses are dominated by the Salt Lake Valley. And so I think because of that, I have a chance to reach out to the rural parts of this state. And by the way, we haven't had anybody representing that part of the state in the state's government since Mike Leavitt. So I think it's time to have somebody who represents the rest of Utah being in Salt Lake City to stand up for all of the rest of Utah. So what I propose is either that realign the state Senate to represent everyone, or let's just get rid of it. That'd save us a whole lot of money. If we're just going to be represented proportionally, we don't need two houses, we only need one. That's millions and millions of dollars that could be cut out of taxpayers' payments right now. So anyway, that's some of what we have to say, and hopefully, if you like it, please consider donating to the campaign. take questions.
I have a question on past, present, and future legislation. So obviously, future legislation is where you stand on medical marijuana legalization.
Okay. Medical marijuana, my position is that any time that the government attempts to regulate what you eat, what you drink, what you smoke, what you inject, what you tattoo, what you pierce, that's government overreach. It's none of their damn business. I am not a proponent of cannabis regulation. I am a proponent of full legalization. It's nobody's business but yours. Mm-hmm.
I'm an atmospheric science major.
Okay.
It's kind of weird.
Well, you probably know more about it than I do then.
Yeah, and I think a lot of the problem is we're not letting the free market choose our energy.
You know what? That's actually a very good point. One of the things that's going on down in Iron County right now is that there's been the installation recently of a big solar farm. Which sounds great, but once again, we're taking all of that energy and putting it into the hands of some corporation to sell it to all of us. It seems to me, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, because you may know this stuff even better than I do, but it seems to me that we ought to be looking at dispersed energy generation, not centralized energy generation. I want a couple panels on my roof so I don't have to worry about what's happening with the grid. Okay. All right. Very good. Thank you.
I'm going to punt right now on my own race, and I'm going to ask my Vice Chairman David to come up and run that in a few minutes. But first, I am going to introduce and Senator Madsen, we are right. We're going to vote first. Thank you. Wave those cards at me. Hold on. We're going to vote first. All those who support our ticket for governor and lieutenant governor, please raise your cards. Any opposed? I see no opposed. Okay. All right. Now, before Senator Madsen came, I mentioned that I make a practice of telling people that I prefer not to be seen in public with a Republican. I am about to introduce one of the rare exceptions to that standard. Senator Madsen is my senator. I live in Lehigh, and he has been my senator for several years now. And I won't say anything about how much relieved I was when I got in his district as opposed to the old one. But at any rate, Senator Madsen has been a great voice in the Utah Senate for individual freedom and for common sense in eliminating regulations over private conduct. He spent the last year or so working diligently on trying to get the state to pass a medical marijuana piece of legislation, and when he started, people were saying that's ridiculous. It will not happen. It won't it won't even be seriously considered. Well, it hasn't happened yet, but it surely has been seriously considered. On his second try, he managed to get it through the Utah State Senate this past year. We bogged down in the House, but I have been at several of the hearings, and I have been at some of his meetings held around the state. And when he held a meeting on medical marijuana last summer in Provo, of all places, a few of us libertarians went down and watched, and it was standing room only in Provo. And I was so glad to see that. And I would go a little further than Senator Madsen would. I think there should be full legalization, and we'll talk about that again a little later. He knows that is not going to fly in the Utah Senate, so he did what he could. But I want to introduce you now, and I also mentioned before that he is not running for re-election. I probably would not have asked him to speak to us today if he were, but he is a wonderful guy, a hard crusader for individual freedom, and I introduce to you Senator Mark Madsen of Utah County.
People get much nicer to you when you're not running for office, isn't it? No, but true. I mean, way too gracious. Andy's always been too gracious and too kind. It is indeed an honor and a privilege. It is very humbling to be here with you today, and it fits. I mean, this is an oddball type of an arrangement, and I've been an oddball legislator. I mean, I don't fit, and it's been 12 years of kind of a square peg in a round hole. But I told when I ran for office the first time, I told people that I would go where my principles led me, wherever that was, whether it was popular or unpopular, whether it was comfortable or uncomfortable, or whether it was even the outcomes were consistent with my personal preference. Because frankly, elected people aren't there. I don't believe they're there to impose their personal preference on society, on their fellow man. I believe that we're elected really to protect people's rights. I believe in the Constitution, and I refer to it and I revere it, and I think we should focus and study on it. But frankly, I think that there's a lost jewel, and we should study perhaps more the Declaration of Independence. It's shorter. And it's less cumbersome, and it's oftentimes, I think, more relevant to the discussions that we have in this kind of a forum. But I believe those words that God gave us these rights, and whether you believe they came from God or whether you believe that through a state of nature we have those rights. The basic premise of the Declaration of Independence is that we're all created by God, and He gives us equal rights in life, liberty, and property, or the pursuit of happiness. And we hear that a lot, and that's good. And I wonder oftentimes if we're even adhering to that language and those sentiments. But after that, it's also important. It doesn't end there. It says that to protect those rights, governments are instituted among men. That's the purpose of government. It's not to provide services. It's not to put the thumb on the scale. It's to protect the rights that God gave us. That's really... And then it goes on. And it's still important stuff. It informs our decisions today. And it says, and this is a question that I ask whenever I'm in a situation I can ask a candidate. These are the two questions. My wife, who's up in the corner there, is a little tired of having me do this because they never get it right. And that's, where does government get its power? And sometimes people will get it, they derive it from the people or what have you. Then you say, so what is the necessary limit on power? Because if you just leave that up to, yes, I believe in limited government, well, how do I measure that? It might not be the same as how other people measure limited government. It may not be the same as, so what is the measure? What is it? And it's right there in that next clause that we get the power, the government gets its power from the just consent of the government. So here's a little exercise that I try to walk myself through, and I often try to walk other people through to try and apply that phrase. Sometimes I think we as elected officials and as people generally, we get onto a phrase, it sounds good, we think we kind of know what it means, and we might even understand it, and we wave it around and we recite it, but there's a break in it. We don't know how to apply it to the issues. We don't know how to say, yes, I believe in this, and this is how it applies to this situation. This is how we take this concept and make it real in policy. So, and this kind of scenario, this hypothetical, can take any number of vectors. I'm living alongside a neighbor on the right and a neighbor on the left. And I look to the neighbor on one side and I see that this person is enjoying prosperity and they seem to have plenty and then some. And I look at this neighbor over here and I see that this person is in need. I mean, they're genuinely, they want, they need, they don't have. Am I within my rights as an individual, as a neighbor, as maybe even a friend, to reach into my pocket and give to the person in need? Of course, we call it charity, and that's a good thing. We should encourage it. Do I have the ability to go to the neighbor who I judge has enough and then some, and under threat of force, say, I'm taking from you, and I'm going to give to this other person who has demonstrated need? Do I have the authority to do that as a neighbor among neighbors, as a peer among peers? No, of course not. Then how can I delegate that authority to government? If I'm the individual, I'm a sovereign. God gave me control over my life, gave it to me. I delegate that. It says government gets its power from the people, and they delegate that power. If I don't have the authority, I'll give you another one. Let's say this neighbor over here, or across the street over there, is sick or is not sick, and feels better. He pursues his happiness by taking cannabis. Do I, as an individual living across the street from this neighbor, have the ability or the right to go over and to smack that out of his mouth? Again, use force, because government is always force. Ultimately, it's always force. Smack that out of his mouth and say no. And in fact, if you run inside your house, I'm going to kick your door down, I'm going to shoot your dog, and I'm going to, no. I don't have that authority. How can I delegate that to government? Okay, I would dare say few of my colleagues go through that little exercise. But for me, it works. And that's the kind of philosophy that I believe is too often missing from the public discourse. Is too often missing, I say things like that in the majority caucus, and they look at me like I got a third eye in the middle of my forehead. I mean, it's as if we're speaking a different language. It's frustrating, and I don't expect that all my colleagues would, I'm fortunate I've been able to have great mentors. I've studied economics under Walter Williams at George Mason University. I took every class he taught. I had an opportunity to learn political strategy. I was personal assistant to Paul Weyrich in Washington, D.C. He started the Heritage Foundation. So I've had an opportunity when I was in law school. I just studied con law. I know constitutional law was really everything else I took at the minimum. Not all my colleagues, not all the people who get elected to government have that opportunity. They haven't delved into political philosophy and read more of Machiavelli than the Prince. But there is a deficit of understanding of the basics. I'm not talking about the nuances, and these are the ideas that we need to have in the public discourse. I believe that the system we have, the party system we have now, is dysfunctional. I can convince anyone of that. And Madsen warned us about devolving into okay, I didn't look at my watch when I started. Somebody's got to tell me to shut up, because with a group like this especially, I love talking about these things. But Madsen warned us against devolving into a two-party system, and we see the wisdom in that, because it polarizes. When you only have two options, it has a very negative effect. And there was a bill a concept that became a bill. I've never had this experience before, had this experience before in legislation. I opened a bill file, I drafted the bill. The concept was, why not allow an individual delegate to go out and get multiple party endorsements? A simple idea. I mean, right now you've got basically the government has come into the political marketplace and has regulated that market, and has said that a candidate can only have one customer, one party as a customer. The analogy breaks down, but it's limiting the marketplace of ideas, as government often does. And it creates a scenario where the people here that probably understand these issues and these principles as well or better than any other set of delegates sitting in any other convention. No disrespect, but the fact that you're here means you understand it and it's important to you. Why do we have a system that essentially marginalizes these voices? I tell you, I got to give credit where credit is due. This idea did not come from me, and it's it came from a Constitution Party candidate. The first time I ran, we were at an event in Lehigh, in the Lehigh City Council, the old City Council buildings, and the candidate from the Constitution, the gubernatorial candidate from the Constitution Party came up to me afterwards and said, "I want to endorse you." And that got the wheels turning, and I'm thinking, why is it that the conventional wisdom is that the libertarians or the Constitution parties, that's a wasted vote. That is insidious. There is no such thing as a wasted vote. The only way that it's wasted is the only way that it's wasted is if the government has come in and meddled with the marketplace of ideas, the political marketplace, and they have. And so I wanted to run this bill. I wanted any individual candidate to be able to reach out, find common ground, and seek endorsements from political parties. Went substantially through the process, and eventually our legislative research, our drafting attorneys are good at what they do, and they have to preserve attorney-client privilege and confidentiality, so they've gone, apparently, and I will now, after the fact, that Ben McAdams had the same idea at the same time, and we had been walking on a parallel path as how do we involve everyone? How do we turn these voices that some would characterize as wasted votes and make them more than relevant? I think more than relevant. In fact, some of in races that are decided in very close margins, that those smaller parties become kingmakers, and all of a sudden, the principles that you stand for are in the ascendancy. People are listening, they're paying attention, and your votes, far from being wasted, are become megavotes, much more valued. And I think that's healthy. I think that it's attractive to have multiple options. I think it leads us more towards a parliamentary system, just in the sense that you have multiple parties that form coalitions on common ground, and you move away from this polarization, choosing up sides. It is difficult. It is a challenge, and again, it is an oddball thing that I, from time to time, wandered into the Democrat caucus at lunchtime and would plop down and eat their food and talk about things from their perspective. Part of that is because when I was in Washington, D.C. for the first 15, 16 years of my life, it was when Tip O'Neill controlled the House of Representatives. I was in a minority, and I know how it feels to be a minority party. I know how it feels to be on the outside and have those on the inside trying to make those that are on the other side as irrelevant and powerless as possible. And I don't like that. And I don't like it when the Republicans do it here in Utah to the Democrats. And frankly, I think we do a fairly good job of keeping good relationships and realizing that the people that elected them did elect them and they deserve a voice. But I guess I'm especially keenly sensitive to that. I believe that if we continue to polarize, we're on the path to disaster. We've got really serious problems. We got debt. And we cannot have a situation where the answer is yes, more debt in this tribe, in this camp, and yes, more debt, but a little bit less in the other camp. We've got to have voices that will stand for principle regardless. Go where your principles take you, whether it's popular, whether it's not, whether it gets you reelected or not. And it's easy for me to say because I was in, a safe district. One of the signs that I saw that I knew I didn't need to run again was when last time, 4 years ago, I was unopposed by anyone in any party. And that's just not healthy. And I appreciate what you are doing to try and break that logjam. And I'm with you in spirit. It's disheartening to feel like, if I want to be effective, I have to align with a party that I don't have as much in common with as maybe some of the other parties. Again, I have a lot of great friends in the Republican Party, and I've been able to help in moving policy in the right way, I believe, with Republican colleagues, but I think that these voices are lost. Again, where am I?
I would say about 10 more minutes.
Okay, would it be appropriate, you know, I can rant around.
Everything is appropriate.
Well, let's just have a dialogue, and or I can walk away, or I can ramble on. But if, you know, let's chat about things. I'm happy to have a conversation. Even though I'm not running, I'm much more interested in what's interesting to you.
Yeah, being in the legislature, how many of them relate their mortgage principles, for example, free agency, to what they're doing out there? Don't they realize that they're implementing states'
Wow, but yeah. Could you put a finer point on it? Yeah, I mean, it is. You know, and I try to make that point sometimes subtly and sometimes not. I mean, again, and I don't want to go, churchy on you, but I do believe that God gave us those, and I believe my faith teaches me that I've already fought this battle once, and the fact that I'm here, I was on the right side there. I believe those are eternal principles. I mean, in our house, when we say our prayers, is, you know, bless our leaders, that they will adopt policies consistent with individual agency and accountability. That is and I wish that we would return to the days when I think it was maybe Joseph says, "I teach them correct." I guess Joseph, teach them correct principles and let them govern themselves. And I think we've moved so far away from that now that their posture is teach them correct principles, and then just in case, hire some lobbyists and send them down there and pass a law to force people to do it, so they all come to the same. And that is not the plan that I fought for to get me down here. And I believe I'm still fighting on the right side of that. And it is, I mean, to some of us, that is glaringly apparent. And especially disappointing in that they choose to do it in the state where they have the greatest influence, but if they believed it so much, why don't they do it in other states? That's where it becomes frustrating that it's just Utah, well, we're going to meddle because. To answer your question directly, I think that there are, and it's a spectrum, I think that there are some, and I don't want to single the church out, there's any number of special interest groups where somebody comes, you know, they say jump, and the legislator says how high. So there are certainly those where the church is like there are those when they positively swoon when they see a badge, and anything that law enforcement lobbies for it's a and teachers unions or NRA. I mean but the church is certainly powerful here, and the membership proportion versus NRA or the other groups is tremendous. That said, I think some of the greatest advocates and those who are willing to push back against that are members of the church and have great testimonies. My belief in the theology has never wavered for a moment. I'm just not sure, frankly, I'm not sure if the information, there's a lot of gatekeepers, and sometimes those that are ordained, it seems to me, are kind of in isolation, and I'm not sure if they're getting all the information they need. But I'm not going to tell that organization how to run their business, and then I would just say, render unto Caesar that which is Caesar's in response. And I don't want to cut anybody. I'll just see the hands as we get them, and then we'll go ahead.
I'm sorry.
No. Go ahead. Yeah, I think I'll just try and sweep.
I've heard you say, and rightly so, that our founding fathers warned us against direct democracy, something like the referendum process. I'm just asking for your public statement on what you think of our efforts for the petition coming up.
And I absolutely support it. I think it is a sad statement that we have to go to this as a last resort. I think it's appropriate that it's a last resort. I don't think that's the first thing we go to when we need to take up policy. But 2 years in a row with tremendous public support, then I think it is appropriate to have a mechanism like that in place. I do not think that direct democracy is a great mechanism for legislating, for setting policy. I mean, aside from the philosophical, 3 foxes, 2 chickens voting on what to have for dinner type of a thing, we have to have that constitutional protection that says these things, at least in theory. In Saratoga Springs, the city where I live, they actually put property rights on the ballot. They subjected property rights and what you could build on your property to a popular vote, to direct democracy. That is a trend that scares me. scares me to death. Because what's next? If property, what is property other than the sweat of your brow? I mean, if I am not entitled to the fruits of my labor, then that's slavery. I mean, you can call it whatever you want, but if I am not entitled to the fruits of my labor, if somebody else is living off the sweat of my brow, that is neither just, and it's just, and nor is it, I believe, American. So I'm not a huge fan of direct democracy. And if you're interested in the policy aspect, I think 2013 The Economist did a great pull-out, a 6 or 7 page section, went over history, European examples that we don't often hear about direct democracy and the policy mess that's there. Closer to home, California, we know about. So I'm really reluctant to do that, but I think in a case, and I think that the legislature has put pretty strict, and they've made it difficult, and I'm not even going to argue with that. And I don't think that those of us who are supporting the initiative, I think we can clear every obstacle, every hurdle, and bring this home because the people support it. It's not AstroTurf. This is ground up. I mean, people support it. Oftentimes the people get it long before their elected officials do, and this is a mechanism to overcome that. Long answer to your question, but hopefully that helps.
Well, we thank you for SB 73 and us, the cannabis patients. We thank you.
Well, and yeah, I'm one of you, so I appreciate all the help. I mean, yeah, it was wonderful. The support, it was just incredible. We made a lot of foxhole friends in that battle that, I'm friends for a long time. Many of us friends. Okay, I promised I'd, oh yes, sir.
Who do you think might carry your torch for the next session?
Well, I'm hoping that there will be many, and I'm going to try and work with several of my colleagues, even there's some no votes that couldn't quite get there, but have a very close tie to the issue and want the right thing to be done. And so I believe it is an opportunity for me, and it is kind of my obligation. I am going to be here. I mean, yes, my family and I, we want to live abroad. You can't do that as a state senator. Next year, we'll likely be moving to South America. But I'm here this year, and I'm a sitting senator this year, and I chair interim judiciary. So I'm going to be doing as much damage as I possibly can in the year that I have left. Is not to let them get away with anything during interim, because once again, Health and Human Services, they've turned this over to the people that hate the issue. So it's going to take a sustained effort over the interim, and then I'm going to be here. I'm going to be here in Utah. We're not going to move until the end of spring semester 2017. I will not be a senator in 17, but I'll be here. I know how to get to the Capitol. And so I'm going to be doing everything I can to keep the legislature honest, for better or worse. I'm the in-house expert on medical cannabis. So I'm going to do everything I can to continue to see that in a year, and if not in a year, in 2 years through the referendum, we've got to have the initiative. We've got to have the initiative to keep the legislature honest. They have shown us that left to their own devices, they'll kick the can down the road. They won't do it right. If in the end the legislature gets it right and the initiative doesn't have to spend the second $1 million, great. We'll have a party instead. But we've got to make sure that the initiative is there to put pressure on the legislature. So all of the above. I mean, I would hope that my successor, I believe Jake Andering, will champion this. There are others, and I don't want to put them in the crosshairs. I don't want to put them, under pressure right now. But they're friendly. We're working with them, and so, don't get. We could do another half hour on medical cannabis strategy, and we will later. Go ahead.
Yeah, when a constitutional carry passed the House and the Senate the last time, I think it was HB 76 or something like that, but it did pass the House. It passed by a pretty healthy margin, and it passed by more than what we needed to overturn veto from the governor. Yet when the governor vetoed it, neither the House or the Senate opted to overturn his veto. So can you tell us what was going on there? What was going on in these guys' minds?
It is often a different dynamic, on the floor during the session versus convenience of the session. People tend to have tendency to get deals in. It's also frankly inconvenient for folks because everybody has to come from all parts of the state. But you can do it. I mean, I think we're doing it on back in the interim. And I've been disappointed. You're kind of asking me to explain what goes on in my colleagues' heads, and I give up. But I think it seems to me, if you believe on this, and you vote on the floor, you should be willing to, principles are right then, the principles are right now. Yeah, I think my wife was telling me every veto override, they poll members. If the majority wants to convene the override session, then we do it. I can't tell you in that case whether the majority of the Senate or House did or didn't, but I have been consistently disappointed that we have not asserted ourselves as a legislature in that prerogative of setting policy. When those things get kicked back to us, we don't seem to be so eager to assert ourselves. It bothers me. The legislative prerogative is under assault from all sides. Primarily, I think, from the bureaucratic state. I mean, that's the most insidious, that's the most detrimental, the hardest nut to crack. There's bureaucrats there that they'll long outlast me, and they know it. It's the elected officials come and go. The bureaucracy is always there, always fully staffed, looking out for its own interests at taxpayer expense. One of the things I learned early on is that the interests of the bureaucracy and the interests of the people that elected me very rarely align. And one of the things dynamics that I've seen as I've been up and now, I've been 15 years in Washington, D.C. and doing national and international. I was 3 years on the small city council, and now I've been 12 years in the legislature. And I've seen this dynamic play out at all levels. If somebody gets elected, they get into office, and the people they start interacting with are the department heads, the people from the government, the agencies and so forth. And you have to have a relationship with them. You have to depend on them for information. You have to give them direction. You have to set policy for them to carry out. But I think too many of them begin to see the bureaucracy and the government departments as the most important constituency. And they're looking out very soon for the interests of the bureaucracy, having long forgotten the fact that the people that elected them probably don't want the same things as the bureaucrats do. Bureaucrats want to grow their budgets, grow their staff, grow their influence, grow their power, and make their lives easier. Because they're human beings. When you go to work for the government, you do not shed your nature, sprout angel's wings, and become this altruistic creature. You're a human being in a government job. You still want to make your life easy. You still want to have power and dominion over others, unless you're a freak like me who really doesn't even discipline his kids. So it is frustrating. I mean, I don't have to ramble. Am I going over time? I can do one more.
Just one more question.
You guys are great for putting up with that. Okay, I'll go one more. Maybe two. Two?
Okay.
It's Libertarian. Two, yeah.
Thank you so much for coming and all of your support of the party. We really appreciate your voice, having that crossover there. I think now more than ever, especially this year, we have the ability to have more members, disenchanted and left the two-party system. I really feel like this year is really important. If you could give us one takeaway, not as individual voters, as you already touched on, but as a party, what would your advice be to us?
That's a great question. I appreciate that comment, and you kind of led me to my close because I wanted to end with something that would let you all know how important I think what you're doing is and how much of a difference it really makes. But then I want to ask you to do more. I mean, because I believe you can, and I believe it's needed. And I would like to see, cross-pollination, so if you can find a way to work on an issue with another entity, another organization, find common cause, and have victory or defeat, you build bonds. And I think that, again, even as a Republican, I would reach across the aisle. I would eat the Democrats' food, because when I could find common ground, as with medical cannabis, when I could find common ground, even on gun bills, I know I know which Democrats will vote for me on gun bills. I know that Luz Robles went to Catholic school, so she'll be even though she's the most liberal, she's a good on-school choice. So you find your common ground and work towards hopefully success. We, the Republicans, and I also think the Democrats, need to be good enough citizens, good enough political citizens, to open the doors to the process to our brother and sister parties and allow them a seat at the table. Because, again, I mean, if you believe in the principles of the founding, you believe Madsen, and you see it in front of you. When we devolve into this polarized system, it's up to you. It's a heavy lift. And I want to help. I look forward to spending more time with you folks as soon as I can. But it's worth doing. Never give up. Never walk away discouraged. This battle, the battle for freedom, has been going on for an eternity. It is not going to end. This is intergenerational. I mean, I'm criticized because my oldest daughter is a Bernie supporter. She thinks for herself, okay? And she's 17 years old, okay? I didn't raise them to be a Tom. Because there's going to be enough people in their lives to tell them what to think. And I'm proud of her. I disagree with her. The better conversations are when we disagree, isn't it? Just keep it up. And I would say engage, make an effort to find a way where you can have common ground. Even if it's not with the party, maybe it's with some of the activist groups that kind of orbit the parties. Reach out to these folks, build those relationships, because it would be great to have more legislators there, the oddball types that have an A rating with the NRA and the ACLU. That's what other guy? That's what I think. Building those bridges would be my. Thank you. Okay, and then our second. Let's do one more.
Okay. I'm an atmospheric scientist.
Okay.
And I believe the free market could combat a lot of like our air quality issues.
Yeah.
And other issues that are related. What's your thoughts? I'm just interested because I'm trying to figure things out.
No, I love that, and I think that yes, to the extent you can apply entrepreneurial principles, the principles matter, and if you get it right and you apply it to the issue, and you could probably speak to this better than I, but I'll tell you my philosophy on this, but my orientation on this. I think we should have an atmosphere in Utah. I think we should have the what do they call it when it gets smoggy, the diversion. We should have an Diversion X Prize. And we should, and tap into the creative, and create an incentive. Yeah, somebody's going to get $1 million richer. That's not a bad thing. And give it to them tax free. You solve this problem, you benefit not only everyone else, but you're going to benefit yourself. Those are the kinds of, I like that policy. And you would be one that would be actually solving it. Government's not going to do it. Government is a very poor problem solver. In fact, I defy anyone to tell me a problem that government has taken to solve, and if they've solved it, have they done it without creating 7 more? All the unintended consequences and so forth. So, I don't know if that's even a good answer, but you tap into the entrepreneurial spirit, move away from the government decision making, and realize that yes, Walter Williams, the buffalo, they were almost extinct, and it was illegal to privately own one. And the government was managing the herds and managing the herds and managing them into extinction. And somebody came along and says, why don't you just let private ownership? We got more buffalo, now we're eating them. The idea of bringing the private sector, not having government as a problem solver, having government as a facilitator that creates an environment where you can go to court and you can enforce contracts, and your life, liberty, and your pursuit of happiness and property are protected, and then go nuts. Live and let live. Maybe if I could find a few colleagues that would live by that, live and let live. That is a political anathema these days, and it needs to be policy. With that, I'll thank you.
Speaking of eating the other party's food, we're going to take a 10-minute cookie break. And we're going to eat food, and then when we come back, we're going to have a short musical presentation by my libertarian singer friend. And then we'll resume the candidate sort of thing. So about 10 minutes. Bathrooms are down that way. Cookies are right outside.
I also wanted to say there are bumper stickers available at the table. There are t-shirts for sale. Make sure to browse the table.
Everybody else is trying.
trying to get to my purse. And if
Sure. Thanks. That is right. That's the same last name as
Ladies and gentlemen, we're going to get started again, and I've had a special request. You see the nice big picture over, or the big sign over inside here from Leanne Walker. Leanne is on oxygen. Leanne needs to leave relatively soon, so we're going to put her on right away for her legislative race, and then we're going to have the music and other things. So as soon as Leanne can get down here, we will start with Leanne Walker and go from there. And am I getting that message out to where Leanne is? Yes. Here she comes. Well, she might need to run. Because I mean, she was. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, that one looks fine, but she's not.
I got it.
You can hold it outside, doesn't matter. Go up a little more just for I guess I'm gonna stand here. Please. You come in a little closer.
Okay.
Try talking.
Hello? All right.
Hold her.
Oh, actually, it's in a folder.
Oh, okay, so you're good.
I would appreciate it if you kind of stayed.
Yes, you don't want it all.
Okay, because I tend to talk with my hands.
Oh, okay, talk to me.
We'll be speeding up the folder. Now, I want to point out to you, this is a very wonderful group of people. Because, and we have a big party problem. And I want to tell you about it. Most of the big parties, what they do is they have a comedian thing that lasts all day long. And your celebrities first, and your top of the ticket, and all of this. And the contested runs on the down party tickets are at the end of the day, and people snuck out at lunch, at break, after the entertainment. So your challengers pretty much are talking to themselves after they're exhausted. And in my case, I'll run out of oxygen by 6 o'clock. In fact, this is wonderful because I've never been in Utah to a Libertarian Party meeting that lasted this long. Yay! And you know, people were here and were engaged, so I'm using more time than I should. But I'm also saying, because I think a lot of the unemployment statistics for people with disabilities are stupid stuff like this. And somebody says, well, she can't do the job. She can't even reach the microphone. Well, we'll change the world. We all change the world a little bit. Now, I appreciate the people who say they're running to make a statement. I took political science at BYU. I got a law degree from the U, and for the last 30, 40 years, the standard stuff has been the third parties put out the good ideas, and if the public starts responding to them, the main parties snatch up those ideas and take the wind out of the sails of the third party. I don't see that happening. I see we've got a pretty gridlocked, fossilized, corporate-owned, two-party system that is not about to snatch up some good libertarian ideas and leave us on the sidelines. I'm concerned about the country. I'm one who was raised thinking, well, neither of the main parties really reflect what you believe in, but you've got to pick the one that comes closest. And besides, there used to be quite a range in both parties. I mean, there was Rockefeller Republicans, and there was, which were liberals, and there were conservative Democrats. But what's happened, and even the polls they put out, if you're things that if you're a candidate, my first loyalty is not to a party, not the Democrats, not the Republicans. I pretty much like the Libertarians, not because it's a party, because once I realized I'm wasting my vote anyway if I vote for these major parties. They just encourage them to keep doing what they're doing. Now, and Willie Marshall over there, he worked for me years ago. Just fluke, but he's the first gay and libertarian open mayor in the. You did it. He's been a mayor. Was a mayor a long time ago, and I think that I have a chance of being the first. Ran as a libertarian, member of the House. I would only be the second one, the House, be only the second one in the country. The other guy's over in Vegas. We'll have to get him to come over and help us. And the first woman, I don't know, definitely. But what's happening, I believe that we've gone along on this bouncing back and forth and losing track of what's really important to keep the country healthy and vital and competitive and not just digging its hole in debt. So when I thought I've had it, and I looked around, and the Greens have some nice things, and it is, but what I really like about the Libertarian Party is the idea of liberty. Hey, you could be a libertarian and not agree on every single subject, but you're still libertarians. Or you have your freedom. And now, I'm not particularly looking to, I don't need it in my life. I had a gun for a while, but I just kind of decided I was my worst, threat. Yes, I gave it back to him. Yes, I had forgotten when I lived with Willie. Willie did influence me, and he thought, a disabled woman living alone. Yeah. Long story. But I had it for a while, and then I gave it back to him. And I'm not looking to a lot of these things, but I think that other people's freedom is important. I believe in the idea of liberty. Liberty. If marijuana helps what ails you, it shouldn't be against the law if Big Pharma is it. All of the social things. I was for gay rights back in the 70s. I marched with people in this town that I've outlived, and now the young people come along and they don't know who I am. We should probably tell them. I was raised a woman, and I do go with the respect for the Constitution. I believe that we've got a government of laws here that is basically based on the consent of the governed, and it is based on the will of the people. Now, it's not just mob rule. There are some, the government of laws, so I'm not that worried about the idea that we're a state. In fact, the Constitution is the outline for a state that they thought would be ideal. I'll support that. But I think we have way too much government tax money. And we're going for coal mines, coal port, prison swamps. I can go on and on. And the way they regulate things will about regulate a small business out to death and hand somebody else a monopoly. It's like, whoa, there's plenty of room for improvement if we don't agree on every single issue and every single how much is too much and all that. The biggest voting bloc in this state are the people who are not even voting. The Democrats and Republicans who quit voting. The young people who aren't even registered. The third parties, the independents. And if we could say, we can form a voting bloc there that wants to be responsive to the people. Let's adjust this alcohol control board. Let's just make it give the cities the option of offering liquor licenses. They'd still have laws, they'd still have regulations. But and possibly we can work out a lot of things if we will work together. And the other thing is that, now, Andy, you just made me forget everything, but time might be close to up.
It might be.
And so if we can, and I want to go to win. I've got a button on my Leanne Walker for Utah, it's Utah, Dist 46. If you can give me a little money, that would help. If you can come and help me out with office a little bit, that would help. But what I really need is somebody that goes door to door with me, or we pick some locations and get out there in the wheelchair. Because I believe if I can talk to enough people between now and then, I could win. Republicans goofed and failed to have a candidate sign up. In Cottonwood Heights, Murray, in Utah District 46, there's no Republican running. There's me, and woman Democrat named Marie Polson, who is not a strong Democrat. The Democrats are somewhat of a Republican light. She says that she likes giving tours to the school kids at the Capitol. I got a whole lot more in mind on a lot of these subjects, and I would like your support. I'd like you to find me. I'd like to be able to make a schedule. I'd like to get together some of the other candidates, and when we have more closer to a slate in a district, have the governor, have more than one candidate and again cover an area. They goofed when they gerrymandered Cottonwood Heights. It's not a Republican. It doesn't go Republican, Republican, Republican. They're swing people. And I wanted to go on forever, but I see in the note of concern. I really thank you for giving me an opportunity to talk before I ran out of oxygen. And the next time I come to a Libertarian convention, I will come with a stack of batteries. Thank you. Thank you all.
Okay, everyone in favor of nominating Leanne? Oh, did you have any questions first? Okay, everybody in favor? Okay, and then any opposed? I know opposition. Great.
Thank you so much. Look for me on Facebook. I'll look for you.
Ladies and gentlemen, I have a friend here, Paul Fischler, who sings on Friday nights at the Unitarian Church, and we all get down there and have a wonderful evening on Friday nights. And he had this song about the Freethinkers Ball, and I liked it so much I asked him to come sing it here, and maybe one or two more. So Paul Fischler. I knew I said it wrong, sorry.
Yeah. Yeah, it's an honor to be here. It's been interesting. It's my first convention. Me and Ted Nugent, huh? Is that a bad name here? Which party is it? So Andrew, it was kind of funny. I was playing at Feldman's. I don't only play at the Unitarian Church. That makes me sound like some kind of bingo fanatic or something. If the Unitarians do bingo, I don't know if they do. But I get you guys mixed up, Unitarian, Libertarian. It's all this Tarian stuff. Anyway, not to ramble. I was really honored when Andrew asked me to play because he likes this one song and that he's heard a couple times. I played it on KRCL, and so I did it for him when we were at Feldman's Deli, and he came up after the show and he asked me to come and play this. He said, I just want you to do that Jesus song and then that Freethinkers thing, and he's walking away. And I'm like, I'm excited. I'm really honored to do this. I thought, this is going to be cool. I thought there would be like 500 people, though. I'm thinking Ted Nugent stuff. Anyway, and as he's walking away, he turns around and he says, oh, and anything you got on marijuana, legal marijuana. This is my kind of party. Anyway, so I'm going to start with the Jesus song, as he calls it. This is a Hayes Carlson. We've been dating since high school. Never once left this town. Used to go out on weekends, and we drink till we drown. She's acting real funny, and I don't understand. I think she's done found her some other man. She left me for Jesus, and that just ain't fair. She says that he's perfect. How could I compare? She says I should find him, that I'd know peace at last. But if I ever find Jesus, I'm kicking his ass. She showed me his picture. All I could do was stare at the freak in his sandals and his long pretty hair. You must think that I'm stupid, or I don't have a clue. Well, last time we made love, I screwed that up and Andrew's gonna kill me. I don't have a clue. I'll bet he's a commie. Sorry. Or even worse yet, a Jew. Best line of the song. She's giving up whiskey, and she's taking up wine, while she prays for his trouble. She's forgot about mine. I'm gonna get even and handle the shame, while the last time we made love, she called out his name. She's left me for Jesus. That just ain't fair. She said I should find him. How could I compare? She says I should find him, had no peace of
if I ever find Jesus, I'm kicking his ass. Well, it could have been Carlos, or even Billy Ortiz. But if I ever find Jesus, he's gonna wish he was dead. Things. Let me get my camera. If you like it, just wave your little, yeah. That's a vote for Fritz. I'm in politics at last. My mom would die again. So yeah, Andrew asked me to play a pop song. And I'm like, hey, I got a pop song. I wrote, never really quite finished it. But they legalized marijuana, recreational marijuana in Colorado, which is my home state. And I was elated. I was like, in my lifetime, you know, I'm a child of the 70s, obviously. Anyway, I thought that was pretty cool. But I started thinking about, if Jesus had a gun, he'd be, God, still be alive today. I can't believe you had me read that. I went to the Libertarian website to make sure it would be safe here, you know, for me. And when Andrew heard that song on KRCL, he posted on Facebook, on my Facebook thing. He's like, there's always room in the Libertarian Party for a free thinker. And I'm like, well, that's kind of an oxymoron, but for me as a free thinker. Anyway, that's the next song, or the song after this. This one is a marijuana song. I kind of modified it, and thanks to Andrew, I actually finished this, and I entered it into a few contests around the country. I found I could modify the last verse to fit the libertarian. I'm not saying it's great, but it's hard to rhyme with libertarian. And you got to get Republican, you know, all that crap. Anyway, so that's kind of a freestyle. But I found I could do that for all these different locations, so I entered it in all these different contests. Anyway. Hopefully I won't screw it up. It's called Rocky Mountain High. My apologies, John. I ain't got no doctor to write no script for me, and I don't have no extra cash to pay for your MD, so I'm rolling in Denver, city in the sky. I'm headed to Colorado, baby, for Rocky Mountain High. Now I don't have to rack my brain for no funky ass disease, and I don't need no chiropractic, no stick in my weed, 'cause I'm rolling into Denver. Well, you can vote Republican or you can vote for the Democrats. If you vote Libertarian, then everybody wins, and we'll roll on into Provo. Pick up our supplies, drive east from Utah County, no need to ask me why. The state can sell us reefer, Jack millennials on the sign. We'll toast the federal government and get Rocky Mountain High. Thank you. Should hear the one I got for Colorado. You're welcome. Oh, I forgot to ask if there's kids in the audience. I'm like, Andrew, is anybody going to be offended by that song? He says, they're libertarian. Okay. So this is the one that started it all. This is a song I wrote a while ago. And I found that when I was 10 years old, I started questioning the existence of God. I mean, I realized later in life, you know, you get to a certain point, it's like, God, I've been like this my whole life. I've been fighting it. And for me, it was always asking why. And not like kids, why, but really, I wanted to know. Is there really a God? Shut up. Go to Sunday school. But I quit at 10. It was ugly. And it's been kind of a curse. And I saw a reference, actually, to Thomas Jefferson and some of those old dudes about freethinkers. It's always been this kind of underground movement, apparently. And I thought, God, that really fits me. And then I ended up writing this song, and it's been my anthem ever since. It's called Freethinkers Ball. Grew up thinking that Jesus was everything, Lord knows He gave it His all. So every third Sunday, if I hadn't been drinking, I'd answer the old church bell call. Well, I'd sing hallelujah, and I'd pray on my knees. I'd ask for forgiveness for all my bad deeds. And one day out of nowhere, as I pondered it all, I went for a dance at the Freethinkers Ball. You can waltz with the devil, you can kiss Buddha's feet, walk with Joe Meyer on a Mormon retreat. You can sing Hare Krishna, you can dismiss it all, if you find yourself dancing at the Freethinkers Ball. Well, I like my politics sunny side up, with a dash of conservatives and liberals on top. I looked for a party, but they're all too corrupt, so I chose independent, and now I'm just stuck. One side says tax, while the other says borrow. They both want to spend like there ain't no tomorrow. When I find myself wondering why the country seems stalled, I go for a dance at the Freethinkers Ball. You can waltz with Karl Marx, have a beer with George Bush, junior or senior, but just too much. Up with Obama, you can learn from them all when you go for a dance at the Freethinkers Ball. Whoops. It's a long song. When I say extremist, we all tend to flinch. One of the great evils we must top of list. We think overseas that we're safe here at home. Just look around, there ain't no sacred ground. They don't come to the table, they don't find middle ground. Drive with fear. free thinkers ball. You can waltz with Rush Limbaugh, have a cry with Glenn Beck, rant with Bill Meyer until you're quiet sick. Wear of the Donald, he trumps them all. Just go for a dance at the Free Thinkers Ball. 10 more verses. But this is my favorite. Some are offended by my free thinking ways. They don't comprehend the need to find my own way. I wish I could follow, let others decide. If you the highway is this pain in my side. Well, I've been called a commie and a socialist too. I was once called a lesbian for the way that I choose. I was born with a brain, no matter how small. It's what keeps me dancing at the Free Thinkers Ball. You can waltz with Tom Jefferson, see Gandhi's okay. Give $1 to Sue Anthony and support her crusade. Take all the greats, throw them all in a hall. Well, go for a dance at the Free Thinkers Ball. Thank you, everybody. Hold up your things again, come on. Vote for Andrew.
Thank you so much, Paul. I am having a great deal of fun today. And before we get back to finishing our approval of candidates, I am going to ask the gentleman who was treasurer when I was chairman before to come down and have a brief talk. Aaron Partridge, he's a longtime libertarian. His family are longtime libertarians. His father passed away recently, and I would just like to say a brief word. Thank you.
Yes, it was just a couple of weeks ago, but my father did pass away. And we both pretty much got in the Libertarian Party together. At the time it was 1988. This is when Ron Paul ran for presidency. And at the time I was only 16, and so I was even old enough to vote, but I was just so invigorated by it, and I just typically found my niche, and you know, he was being very much disillusioned at the Republican Party at this time, and you know, especially with the locals, and so he went to some libertarian event, and he got booked, and he kicked me on, and almost every time since, I'm always just so excited. If he was going to go to a libertarian event, I just wanted to come along, even though I was just, you know, a kid, couldn't vote yet, you know, and so if I had one, I would wear a t-shirt that said, I was old enough to vote libertarian, and so, and that just pretty much started, and about a year later, we got hooked on Rush Limbaugh, and who's not always, very libertarian, but sometimes it does help get me invigorated, and it just pretty much shaped me, and maybe sometimes over the years I may not be so tuned with some of his, maybe just views of what happened, but still, he was one of the main trailblazers of the Libertarian Party in Box Elder County, so he did very much what he could for the Libertarian Party of Utah, and he'd be sorely missed, and I'm going to do whatever I can to carry on his legacy, probably even though down here in Salt Lake, and I hope there's someone who carries it on, Box Elder, and thank you.
Okay, the next candidate we want to bring up is running for Attorney General. Andy has actually run on the Libertarian ticket multiple times and done a fabulous job for us. He's currently our, as you know, state chair. I'd like to introduce Andy McCullough.
I'll try and be brief. We're actually keeping pretty good time. But anyway, by now most of you know who I am. I have run for Attorney General before, and by the way, I didn't really get a chance to tell Senator Madsen this, but the fact that we are not allowed to have multiple parties nominate the same candidate in Utah is my fault, because I did it before, and everybody, the Republicans hated it, and they passed a law against it the next year. And I, you know, so I'm asking myself, on one respect, did anybody really notice me at all? And then I find that the legislature did. So, you know, I'm pretty pleased with that. And I could make a great long speech. Let me just say, the current Attorney General, Sean Reyes, spent a lot of money last year, a lot of money, bringing a team of Mormon lawyers in from the East to fight marriage equality. And we knew it was a lost cause. Everybody knew it was a lost cause. But the things they said in their brief were offensive. And that has been the way that he runs his Attorney General office. He is, you heard Senator Madsen talk about legislators swooning when they see somebody with a badge. Well, there's a lot of swooning going on up on the Hill, and the current Attorney General is a real swooner. He likes everything that we don't like and hates everything that we like, and has been opposed, of course, to marijuana reform, has been opposed to forfeiture reform, has been opposed to all signs of personal freedom. He's got $1 million. The Democrat filed his report the other day, said he got $20,000 from his family. I don't even have $20,000, although I hope I might at some point. Sometimes it seems you wonder why, but we've got to be heard. We just have to be heard. And things have got to change. And the cool thing is, despite the big team of very expensive Mormon lawyers from back east, the state lost. And the cool thing is that despite all the efforts that the state is going to make, they're going to lose the marijuana battle. I'm 67 years old. I'm going to live to see this. It's going to be... It's going to be in my time, and it's certainly going to be in your time. And if we can help it along, if we can give people who understand freedom a home, if we can give them a place to go on election day and somebody to feel comfortable about running, then we need to do that. And we need to spread the word, and all I'm trying to do is spread the word. So freedom is the word, liberty is the word. We need to tell them, and you know, he's still got $1 million, but we do what we can, and we will do what we can. And I ask your assistance for the party, and I ask your assistance for my campaign. And we thank you for coming out today. And my associates tell me that we've signed up over the last yesterday, or the last 3 or 4 days alone online, we signed up 12 or 13 new members. I guess we probably did at least that well today. And then 2 weeks ago, we did another. So we probably tripled, quadrupled our membership within the last month. It's been coming in faster than Brian and David and I can count it. And thank you so much. Keep it up. And I will take a couple of questions. I don't want to spend a lot more time. No, you know, the Constitution Party joined with the Republicans on that Count My Vote lawsuit, and they made a few bucks on it. I almost felt like I lost out. We didn't make a few bucks on it. But no, we're not involved in any lawsuits, and we're doing just fine. And we are, in fact, doing just fine. So it's all you're doing.
So we're doing fine to exist, but to accelerate and win, we're going to need a lot of support. So Andrew, how can we support your campaign?
I could use $1 million. You know, I actually did send a letter to the Koch brothers last year, 2 years ago, telling them that, you know, I mean, the Koch brothers are seen as the financiers of the Republicans, but people forget that David ran for vice president as a Libertarian Party candidate years ago. I did not get the courtesy of a reply. I may try again. I've got the form letter written. All I have to do is change a few things around. So who knows? But do what you can, and we've got signs out there today, especially those who are, you know, up from St. George or down from Logan or whatever. Take some of mine, take some of Brian's, get the word out. We need all the help we can get on social media, word of mouth. Money is important because we need more signs. We need to get on the air. It would be wonderful if we could run some radio ads and that sort of thing. But an awful lot of it really is spread the word the best you can. And the advent of social media has been tremendously helpful. You can spend an hour a week working on that, spreading the word, and you'll be doing a lot of good, and you're not spending any money. So find a way, and if you can't think of any ways, ask us and we'll help you think of some. Thanks again.
I just gotta say, over the years, I've seen some Andy McCullough yard signs. They have these places in rural Utah that always cracked me up. You know, you'll be out in the middle of nowhere and going along the highway, and all of a sudden there's an Andy McCullough sign on the fence. And you go,
well, we do what we can. Thank you. And I'm going to turn this back to David.
Okay, everyone in favor of nominating Andrew McCullough for the Libertarian nomination ticket for, I can't talk here. You guys all agree. We got a consensus for Attorney General. Thank you. Anybody opposed? Then we know 1 to 7.
Alrighty. We have some other candidates, but the thing I've been asked as I've wandered around this morning over and over, half a dozen times at least, what about the president thing? So I think I'm going to take this out of order just a little bit. The next order of business would be, if I decide that it's the next order of business, nominating delegates to the National Convention. And then let me tell you just a little bit about that process. And then as part of that, I will ask for, and my head is whirring as I go. Are there people here who want to take 3, 4, 5 minutes to talk about a presidential candidate that they support? If so, would you raise your hand or your red card or whatever? 1, 2, Three. Okay. Hunter was first, and I know who his candidate is. I'm going to let him speak first for 3, maybe 5, who knows. And then I'm going to ask for people who are supporting any other candidate. So if you're all supporting the same candidate, I'm not going to ask the same bunch, but we'll start with Hunter. And if anyone has a presidential candidate they want to speak for, then we'll talk about the national delegates because they're the ones who actually cast the votes.
Hey everybody, I'm Hunter Patterson. I'm the state director for the Gary Johnson campaign. And I've met with many of you before, and some of you here are interested in becoming a Gary Johnson delegate. And if you are interested, please know that there is a Libertarian Millennial Caucus which he does support. Come up and talk to me about joining that afterwards. About Gary Johnson, he's accomplished. He's been a governor, and he won in a state register 2-1 Democrat. Never raised taxes, and as far as philosophical consistency, for the most part, he very much is. But what is more important right now, being that this is the biggest year for libertarians, period, is that we get somebody who is accessible to the masses, right? For all the disaffected Bernie Sanders supporters, when Hillary wins a nomination, we need somebody there who can, actually take the position of being against the drug war. Also, just as far as some of these other philosophical things that we like to debate on, let's suppress that momentarily. Like I'm sure many of you saw the debate which he spoke at on the not discriminating on the basis of religion. This is something that, for our messaging wise, we do need to suppress, just not to frighten away too many people, because we can get about 5% of the vote this year, and we absolutely need to get that. And if we do that, that is a game changer for the party forever. We can definitely move things in a direction where we can get Republicans and Democrats to have incentive to work with us a little bit more. We'll have a little bit more money and research, and we can invest in PR firms to improve our messaging. So this is the most important thing ever. So when it comes to what Gary Johnson can do for us, of course, he's in favor of the fair tax system. And how that works is it just goes back to a consumption tax. So this would be like before the federal income tax was imposed. We would have a 23% consumption tax added on everything, and that is across the board. As far as subsidies are concerned, no subsidies whatsoever. So this is good for environmentalists if you're talking to them, because we're going to get rid of the oil subsidies as well. We can therefore allow other things like wind and solar and nuclear energy to come and take its place if in fact it is more economically viable. When it comes to the drug wars, he is definitely against the drug war, and for me that is one of the most important causes that we face today. This is the biggest abomination since slavery. I mean, it's feckless, it is inhumane, and we just absolutely need to get rid of that. So we need to lead with that when talking to people about Gary Johnson. So I don't know, I think, does anybody have any questions maybe I could answer on Gary? Okay. So anyway, if anybody does want to be a Gary Johnson delegate, let's get you up here, and we'll nominate you as well. And we do want to schedule a conference call with you on Monday or Tuesday with Gary on the phone. So please, let's keep in touch. Thank you.
Okay, anyone now who would like to say a few words for any other candidate come on up.
Good afternoon. My name is Chris Sanders. I am the state coordinator for the Austin Peterson campaign. Glad to be here. So, thank you for mentioning Gary. Gary does have a little more experience in Austin. He has been a governor. He does like to say that a lot. And that's his privilege. He does have the experience. But when we're talking about true accessibility to his constituents, I don't think there's anybody out there who has better true accessibility than Austin. I've personally talked to Austin on the phone a couple times myself. I think a couple of other people in here that are constituents of Austin, or that are Austin people, Peterson people, have personally talked to Austin themselves as well. I refer to him as Austin because that's how it works with him. That's how it works with him. He's that cool of a guy. As far as where he stands on things, I would rather let him tell you how he stands on things. And if you come up and get with me later, I can get you in touch with him. Or I can get your information and we can have him get in touch with you. That's how he likes to do things. I am personally, I'm a defector from the GOP recently. And it's because of a longtime friend of mine who got me interested. I've always, the more and more I thought about it, the more and more I've realized that I've never really truly been a Republican, but it's kind of been the lesser of the two evils because I didn't realize there was a third evil, if that makes sense. And when she introduced me to Austin, it kind of sealed the deal. He's very genuine. Some people think of him as a little brash, a little too outgoing, but I think you need that in a presidential candidate because you need somebody who's not going to be afraid to back down from anybody. And you need somebody who is willing to speak his mind and his heart on the issues, regardless of whether it's a popular opinion or not, because that's the true way you're going to see change in this country. Is somebody who's willing to stand up there, and even if the party may not necessarily agree with him, he's willing to stand up there and put himself out there and say, hey, you know what? This is how it is. This is how I feel. So yeah, if you're interested in Austin and interested in being an Austin delegate, please get with me, and I can get your information, and we can get either Austin or I'm pretty sure we can probably get Austin in touch with you. That's how accessible he is. So yeah, please get with me. Thank you.
Anyone else for a presidential candidate other than those two? Okay.
I got to say that Gary Johnson's one of my personal heroes. I've had very few heroes in my life, but he's one of them. Ron Paul would be another. But I can't say that I'm a Gary Johnson delegate this time. I may vote for him. But there's another candidate too that I think bears a good look, and that's John McAfee, who is the founder of McAfee Antiviral Software. He's a brilliant man. He's very well spoken. He's very colorful. He's very funny, and I think he deserves a look. I think it'd be hilarious if we had a ticket of John McAfee and Edward Snowden. That would be a hoot. Anyway, that's all. I want you to be aware there is another candidate you need to look at too. Austin Peterson has impressed me too with he's very articulate and he's very principled. And anyway, just wanted to throw that name out, so give him a look too.
Other people for another candidate? It's amazing how many candidates there really are. And I might have one more myself in just a second, but
So we've covered the top three, those who have made the Stossel debate based on a Libertarian Party poll. And I felt that there was a strong candidate that we do have that was not included in that debate that people really do need to look into when it comes to the philosophy of libertarianism. And that candidate is Darryl Perry. A lot of people think that he might be a little bit too extreme. And to some extent, is that not what we really need? Is that difference? I mean, when we really look at it, we can water down the message all day and come out sounding exactly like every other politician, every other Democrat, every other Republican. But at the end of the day, what do we really believe? And with Darryl Perry, I believe that out of all of the candidates' platforms, his is the one that matches the Libertarian Party national platform the best, and goes even a step further to where he would actually begin to dismantle the horrors of government. All the excess, all the waste, the rights infringements, he's spoken out against. So is he radical? Yes. But just by being here today, are we not also radical by taking that step? And so I'd ask you guys to consider taking a look into Darryl Perry as well. Thank you.
Any more presidential talks? All right. I was just asking Rob if he knew whether there was anything official, and he doesn't know, neither do I, but I'm still going to mention my favorite guy, Vermin Supreme. He did announce on his website some time ago he was abandoning his quest for the Democratic nomination and was going to be a Libertarian. Free ponies for everyone, and you know, and a boot on your head. So I'm a little undecided whether we should take a straw poll first and then elect our delegates, or whether we should elect our delegates and then take a straw poll. Mr. Chief Delegate, probably. What do you think?
Well, I have a self-interested, I would prefer we just elect delegates, but maybe we could ask those who are interested to give.
We are going to ask those who are interested if they support somebody or whatever. Okay, and we have 8 delegates to the National Convention. They are the ones who actually will cast votes. We can tell everybody who we like. This is not this convention today is not a primary. It is not a caucus that elects delegates. Well, it does elect delegates, but it's the delegates will. We don't have a mechanism for forcing them who to vote for. If you want somebody to support your guy, though, you may want to support that. We have 8 national delegates and 8 alternates that we can elect. And I have heard that there might be several people. Can I just see by a show of hands in the room anyone who wants to be a delegate? Remember, before you do, it's in Orlando. It's a long ways away, and I want you to actually go. Okay, now show me your hands. 4, 5. Okay, well, we're probably just about at the 8, but nevertheless, I'm going to ask people who want to be delegates to speak for like 1, maybe 2 minutes on who they are, why they want to go to the convention, and if they have a presidential preference, who it is. And let me start out, by the way, saying that my friend Joseph Bookman, who's running for the legislature, the Senate, District 14, would like to be a delegate. He has been before. He tells me he is open as to his preference at this point, although he probably leans towards McCarthy. So I'll put his name in when we name delegates as well. But I'll start with Rob, and then I'll go to Willie. And the reason I'm picking them first is that they're kind of like our long-term delegates, but we're going to listen to everybody, okay?
Thank you, Andy. And I can take questions too. And so my name's Rob Latham, if you don't know me, and it's really exciting to see a lot of new faces here. There was a time in this party where I knew every party member, and I was party chair for a couple terms as well. About 5 years ago, I moved down to St. George, Utah. But I attended my first Libertarian National Convention in 1993, right here in Salt Lake City, Utah, and then I've been to every national convention except the one that was in Indianapolis as a delegate. You can join other state delegations, and one year when it was in Anaheim, just for giggles, I decided to join the New York delegation, so I did do that, but so I'm familiar with the National Convention and the process. I'm actually on the National Judicial Committee. I've served on the National Bylaws Committee in the past. And I'll tell you a story about candidate preferences, so to get to that as to why I don't have one and would advise kind of against binding delegates or that kind of thing as much as people in favor of it. So there was a year when we had David Nolan, who was a nationally syndicated radio talk show host, and he was running for a presidential candidate. And he was kind of the big leading guy, and a lot of people thought he would be the big deal. And we get to the convention in Atlanta, and there was a guy by the name of Aaron Russo, who's, and maybe some of you know him, he's a filmmaker, he lives in the Las Vegas area. He was very impressive in his delegate meetings, and a lot of people said, wow, he might actually be a very impressive guy. Well, we had a candidate debate, and that was narrowed down to 3 candidates just by delegate selection and whatnot. And joining David Nolan and Aaron Russo on the stage was a guy by the name of Michael Badnarik. And he was actually super impressive on the debate stage and ended up being our presidential candidate. And so that kind of taught me a lesson that, just because I think I'm supporting someone and going to the convention, things can change between now and the convention. And so it's good to keep an open mind. Now, having said that, I will say as a longtime party member, I'm very impressed by Gary Johnson, and I think this is a year where he seems to make the most sense as a candidate, but I am going to keep my options open. I was very impressed by Austin Peterson during the debate on the Stossel show. So I think we get together, we compare notes as delegates, and that's what makes the most sense. So in any event, I'm happy to take your questions. If you have questions about the delegate process, I've passed around some of my stickers, and thank you those who were wearing them. I've been carrying around with me since the mid-1990s when I first printed them up. But I would sure appreciate your vote. I've already bought my convention package, airfare, hotel room, so I'm good to go and excited to go. I think this will actually be a very interesting National Libertarian Convention, and it may be, yes, a game changer for our party. Appreciate your support. Thank you.
I joined the party in '81, and I was, I guess you could say, a povertarian. I hitchhiked to my first national convention in Denver, and I stayed in a $42 a week flea bag hotel a block away from the convention, and I had a wonderful time. It changed my life. I'm no longer a povertarian, and but anyway, I'll be going again. I've been to every convention since '81. I missed one of them. It was an off year. It was in St. Louis, and something happened at the last minute. I had financial troubles, and it would cost me $1,000 to go to the convention. I just thought, I guess I can't. So I didn't. But that's the only one I've missed. But they're a hoot. You need to go. If you want to go, you really should. You'll love it. I hope to be a delegate again. I haven't really made up my mind firmly of who I'm for. Gary Johnson would be great. I think Gary Johnson, John McAfee ticket would be great. I don't really want to see John Gray again as VP. I didn't think he made much of an impact last time he ran. But I'm open to others. You never know what's going to happen at these conventions, but you know you're going to have a good time. So come join us.
Anyone else who wants to be a delegate, can we get a line, maybe fill in these seats here, and we'll just stand in line and just grind them through, okay? Char, you look like you're first.
Hi, my name's Charlene Patterson. I'm also going to the National Convention regardless, so this will be my first National Convention. I joined a caucus called the Libertarian Millennial Caucus. We are organizing to help the Libertarian Party move in the forefront of technology by using social media, by organizing, doing some grassroots efforts, really pushing in some messaging that will help the party as a whole. I'm also really familiar with a few candidates that are running for national chair this year. One is Brett Pajunas. He's the chair from Nevada, and as you know, it's a really big movement there. It's a very free state, so he's been very involved in the national convention. He's been going all over the country actually to go to state conventions. He's primarily on the East Coast right now doing some things. So I am not for a presidential candidate, even though I know Gary Johnson very well, and we've worked with him on a couple of initiatives. I'm open, and I want to talk to you all about who you're supporting and why. And I've also worked with the EC for the last year on getting the party growing in Utah. We worked on the website. I've been instrumental in getting the county parties organized. So if you're interested in getting involved in your county, especially those who've traveled, we'd love to talk to you so that you can talk to your friends, talk to your libertarian-minded community members and get something going in your county. And you make up the party, you make up the state. So I'd love to talk to you again. My name's Charlotte, and thanks.
Hello everyone, my name is Matthew Empey, and I'm a recent defector of the GOP. I'm going to be honest here, Rand Paul is the one that dragged me into politics back in my junior year of high school. And what really got me overhauled into politics was a professor I had my senior year of high school. I'm currently 18 and a junior up at Utah State, but Rand Paul brought me into politics, and then Ron Paul, I found Ron Paul, and then I found Gary Johnson. And I realized a high sense of hypocrisy in the conservative or the Republican Party. I don't see a limited government as a war on drugs, supporting constant boots on the ground, and supporting mass surveillance of everyone in the United States. So I recently came over to the Libertarian Party, and I was one of those who recently became a dues-paying member that joined on. And I would love to go to the Orlando National Convention. I have a ticket, and I have a room set up for it just so I can at least experience it and see what it's all about. Thank you again.
Hello everyone, my name is Mike Wilhelm. Getting into my third year down in Utah County now. Me and my wife moved up from Arizona. We're putting down some roots here, small family, little baby. Been I guess a practicing libertarian for a while, an official party member as of 4/20. As for like the libertarian values of things, it's always appealed to me. Trying to live my life knowing like you don't hit people, you don't take their stuff, and seeing government do that growing up, I thought that was kind of weird. And as a late teenager and whatnot, started to find and figure out parties and what they said they support and what they don't, and I found myself, I find myself here now. Read a lot of libertarian literature and schools of thought, and it's very cool. I think that we have the smartest, most intellectual party, the most common sense one. It's great. Looking to get involved. It's something that I was actually really inspired by the grassroots Austin Peterson experience. He's very good at being reachable and whatnot, and it's been cool to see that. However, any of the candidates is a step in the right direction for this country towards the, just in the spectrum of things, we need to move towards maximum liberty, and any of the libertarian candidates would be great. However, where I stand right now, I feel like Austin has the best way to reach people from either side, not just personally, but I think it's great. But anyway, I do have board set up in Orlando already. I'm going to be purchasing my convention ticket, so what was just said, I'm going to be there to experience it, and I feel like it's going to be just monumentous for me. Like it'll be cool just to get into the thick of it all, and of course I would like to be a delegate if I'm already going to be there, and I'm not thick-skulled or anything. If I was a delegate, if anybody were to come to me with information that I didn't know, information that things are up to debate, and that's we're skeptics, we're libertarians, and so if somebody were to find a way to sway me, maybe, but Austin Peterson, I feel, has the best way to reach people as far as messaging goes for the future of the party and the torchbearer. So anyway, thanks guys.
Third time up here. So obviously you guys know that I'm pretty serious about where I am in the party. I'm putting my money where my mouth is. When I ran in 2014, I put roughly $3,000 of my own money down so I could back up what I was saying, and a $5,000 budget raise. I care about the party a lot. I've also been serving as the chair for the Weaver County Libertarian Party. So obviously I've been doing quite a bit there. I've also been really involved with all of the candidates. For the last probably 10 or so months, I have been interviewing every single one of them that has decided to declare and that has been recognized by the Libertarian Party. And this has been with the candidates directly, except for John McAfee. He's the only one that I haven't spoke to directly, but I have been speaking with his campaign. And I'm going to be at the convention regardless anyways. I'm actually teaching a seminar down there. So I would appreciate the vote so that I can be a delegate, but you know, I'm going to be there regardless. So would appreciate the support. I do not have a candidate that I have officially chosen. I came down and spoke on behalf of Darryl Perry just because I felt that we needed to have the more radical side, at least have somebody speak up for them. But as of right now, I do not have a firm commitment. Thank you.
My name is Greg Miller. I have been an official party member since... No, I was actually going to make that joke. I do not own the Jazz. My dad's name is Larry Miller, but just the wrong one. Yeah, I actually said that very same joke in front of the Republican Party, just wanting to get a different voice out there. I mentioned the word classical liberal, and I think all they heard was liberal. It was like, liberal? And so I stood in front of that group and just recognized, you know what, I'm just not with these people. They just don't represent me. And so that's when I came right home and signed up for the Libertarian Party immediately. So I just realized that was where I belong. So I will just give you an idea as to where I'm coming from principle standpoint, so you kind of understand like who I'm going to vote for, depending on what they say and all that. I'm a principled person, so I come to the libertarian way of thinking through non-aggressionist thinking, which is basically I hold to the non-aggression principle, which means that it condemns all the wars that we're doing around the world. It condemns the drug war. It condemns all the various things that we do as a nation that harm individuals who are just negotiating between each other. I have no right to get involved in their negotiations. I have no right to get involved in their marriages. I have no right to get involved in their religion. I have no right to get involved in their lack of religion. And so I'm just going to give you that point of view. I'm a non-aggressionist libertarian, which means that that's where I hold. And you can feel free to contact me about what candidates you think fit that bill and why, and I'll be willing to hear any of those arguments. As it stands right now, I kind of fall more with John McAfee, because when people tell me, hey, if you don't like it, then get out of here, there's a guy that actually did that. So that's me. So thank you for listening, and feel free to talk to me anytime. Thanks.
Hey guys, my name's Brandon Horlocker. I'm the chapter president down at UVU for the Young Americans for Liberty group across the country. I grew grew up in a very, very Republican home. So much so, around 10 years old, that's when my passion for politics was lit, and I began to realize, I don't really fit in the Republican Party or the Democrat Party. So if I tried to debate something with my parents, it would turn into a fight. They would be so against anything that was remotely not Republican. And I began to realize, people are very set in the system, and the system isn't working. And I only mention this because I had a great revelation last week. I talked to my mother again and showed her some of Gary Johnson's clips that he posts on YouTube. And she actually was receptive to them. She didn't fight me on them. She's like, oh, you know what? Maybe libertarianism is a good principle to follow. And most of you know, Gary Johnson's suing the debate commission because they won't let him debate. And I have a theory that it's because if a libertarian gets up there and debates, they will win. This is the party that they want. Can you imagine any of the libertarian candidates up there debating against Trump and Clinton? So anyway, like Hunter said, this is a big year for the Libertarian Party. Even if they don't get the debate, they will get the numbers they need to become a major force in this country. And I see Gary Johnson as the ticket to do that. So I personally support him, but I will do what I think is best for the party and what the party thinks is best as well. So thank you.
Hello again. Anyway, I am going to the National Convention. I do have a hotel room, and I have the ticket as well. And like I mentioned earlier, we are connected with the Libertarian Millennial Caucus. So we are organized with some people who are experienced in improving, technology. It can also help us fix our databases so we can improve our messaging, reach more people. And another thing I just wanted to touch on about libertarianism in general is that I think I've been a libertarian most of my life. It's just that I did not actually expect that people like you, the people that I'm seeing here, were actually philosophically consistent with everything. Because what I saw was the Tea Party, and that actually wanted me to put some distance there because there's a lot of social conservatism there. So there is a huge opportunity to actually tell people what it is that we mean by aggression when we say non-aggression. And also to persuade them that simply not giving people things is not the same thing as aggression. When it comes to Gary Johnson, another reason that I'm for him is that he does come across as an environmentalist, while at the same time not violating the non-aggression principle. Let's see, there's, and again, it's also just about the messaging there. I mean, I can bring somebody to look at a Gary Johnson speech, whether a neocon or a Democrat, and they like him better than any of the candidates right now. We really need to put this guy in front and have him be the face of the Libertarian Party. Austin Peterson, I like a lot for his philosophical consistency, but right now, a lot of people are going to be looking for somebody who does have some experience. This is what libertarianism looks like in practice. We have something to point to over here as he's been a governor. John McAfee as well. I mean, as soon as like some of the negative, some of his reputation comes up, that's really not going to help us. So we need to really work on improving this image. So please join me in that. And I also just want to mention that there are a few delegates who were here and were not able to make it. Jane Sims is one of them, and we also have Dane Evans as another, and I also have a list here of other people that I would like to nominate as well. And if anybody doesn't get nominated, if you did want to be nominated, we can go through the alternate delegate process as well, and see if maybe there are some other empty seats in another state. So it's not the end of the world if you don't get a delegate spot. Just come and talk to me and we'll get you there. All right, thank you. Okay, guys, I have a lot. Huh? Okay.
We're only going up to 16.
Sure. Okay. Dane Evans. And Jane Sims. Okay. Okay, yeah, they were here and they had to leave. Also, is Carson Reed here? Okay, no. And looks like Chelsea Meekum. All right.
I told somebody that the other day that if somebody made a point of order, I was going to pull out a squirt gun and shoot them in the nose. But go ahead and ask your question.
My point of order is it really fair to anyone else who is physically here that might want to be a delegate that might not have mentioned it yet to be nominating people that aren't physically?
I think it's totally fair because you don't have to vote for it. People who are here are going to do the voting. It's certainly a legitimate thing to say, I'd like to see the color of their eyes. So I'm going to turn this over to Scott. He's going to read the list. And let me just say that we're going to do our darndest. The three of us are going to do our darndest to get a count. The top 8 will be official delegates. After that, the next 8 will be alternates. If it goes down to 17 or 18, we don't go any further than 16. Okay? Yeah. And certainly it's a very legitimate concern. My friend Joe Bookman wanted me to bring in his name and his daughter, he specifically said as an alternate. His father passed away. He couldn't be here. He's a longtime libertarian. Give that what consideration you want to give it. And I'm going to let Scott call out the names. The three of us are going to do the count. We're going to go down to 16, and that's as far as we're going to go.
The name is called, can we have the person stand up?
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yes. Oh, I wish.
How many candidates do we have?
We have 8.
How many people are running?
How many?
How big is the list?
Yeah, we thought we had 11. So
We have 16.
16. All right. So well, we do need to know which ones are the official delegates and which ones are the alternates. Okay? We need to know that.
How are you voting? How are you making sure that people don't vote more than, I guess, 8 times? Are you doing ballots or are you doing show of cards?
We're going to do show of cards. Is that going to be a problem?
Okay.
There's 100 of us in this room. I'm pretty sure we're going to be able to figure out if we put yours up.
And I guess the question, Rob, is how many times can we vote? Is that?
I move to elect all delegate candidates by acclamation. We sort out delegate alternates.
Well, we've got to have a delegation chairman, I've asked Rob to do that, and I'm hoping that I'll be sustaining that. Beyond that, I don't care. Rob, if you were just given 16 names, do you want to do it out, or?
I will say that's unfair, I think, to some folks who have organized to be delegates because they...
You mean and printed up badges?
They may want to... we heard Hunter, and maybe they have a slate and they want to vote, for that slate. So I think it would be presumptuous of me to, and that's the same. I think that's probably Jim's proposal is that I think if we had all 16 of us, that slate would probably dominate and decide who the delegates were going to be and who the alternates were going to be. So and this is selfish on my part, but I prefer the convention to do that order who were going to be the delegates and who were going to be the alternates.
All right. The question in my mind is how many times does a person vote? We got 8 delegates. Do we get 8 votes or do we get 1? And I haven't thought it out, so I'm asking your assistance.
I honestly, I think we can defer to the body as to what we do there. And I didn't even bring my Robert's Rules of Order with me. So,
Good. Because you didn't want the squirt gun.
So I think we can further divide. I mean, we can, some people can say we only get 5. Some people say we get 8. And some people can say.
I'm gonna, at this point, I'm gonna say 8. You get to vote 8, okay? Don't go 9, please. And I mean, if I'm not gonna try and catch you. Are you gonna try and catch him? No. Okay, one more point of order.
How about this?
I'm gonna get this done, I am.
How about we go with those that aren't here, alternates, with the exception of your friend? Because the circumstances are different.
So 2 of the members were here, they have to leave for work, and that's why we stood up and asked them. So I still think we need to vote on each name. I don't think
Okay.
it's just
Yeah, well, some of you, I'm seeing a lot of heads nodding, and I'm guessing that some of you know these people and want to support them, and I don't know most of them. So, and I've been to 3 national conventions. I had a wonderful time. I don't want to go to this one. So, so there. So, all right. I'm really going to get this done after the next question.
We're voting for 8, we get 8 individual votes?
Yeah. No, you do not get to accumulate. Yeah, you do not get to accumulate. So the 3 of us are going to sit here. Scott's going to stand up and give us the list. We're going to count the best we can. And I'm going to ask you specifically to support my friend Rob, who I have asked to be the delegation chairman, and beyond that, do what you wish.
A big pitch quick, just because the National Party wants our delegate names, so if you are elected as a delegate, come find Andy or whoever our chairman is after the process so we can get that information.
Whoever our chairman, am I quitting?
Well, the delegation chairman.
Oh, okay.
We need to get those names to the National Party, I think, within a week. So.
Yeah, we do. So, okay.
All right, in no particular order. Okay, all right. Well, Rob Latham.
Thank you,
Let me just stay on this side, guys. I'll do this side, you do that side, okay? All right.
Okay. Willie Marshall.
My pupil.
Right. Look, I lost. Okay.
Okay. Hunter Patterson. Stand up, if you would.
Who's Hunter Patterson? Who is he?
Hunter, wave your hand.
Oh.
Thank you.
Shar Patterson. Matthew Empey.
Mike Wilhelm. Craig Bowden. Also.
Look what I have.
Greg Miller.
Hold them up high, guys.
Brandon Horlocker.
You can make one like that. You can make it like this. It goes like this. Ta-da.
Joe Buckman. Joe is the one who is not here. He has a death in the family.
Why do you know how it works? We have these dogs. What's this?
Dr. Buckman, his daughter. I don't know her first name. I'm sorry. Oh, sorry. Hannah.
She wants to just be an alternate, so.
Oh, okay. So,
Her at the end.
okay. So since we have enough, Jane Sims. That's it. That's for her. Okay.
She was here. She had room.
Okay. She had to go. Okay. Dane Evans, is that right? Dane? Okay. Who's here and then to run?
Starting a new job today.
Congratulations. Carson Reed? All right, and then Chelsea Miko. Okay. Oh, yes. All right, we'll do Simone's now.
while we're telling that up, I'll take this moment to tell you about the wonderful work that has been done on the website by Hunter and Shar and a web team. It really means a lot to be brought into this century as far as looks go. So they did a fantastic bang-up job on the website. Thank you for that. Libertarianutah.org. And I'm going to tell you about the best feature on this website. There's a donate button. And when you click on that donate button, it gives you the option to decide how much a month you would like to invest in the Libertarian Party of Utah. They bring you events such as this today, and the Gary Johnson event a few weeks ago, and several other events upcoming. Even if it's just $5 a month. If you think about the cup of coffee, how much does that cost? Well, some people make it themselves, so that's more like 50, 60 cents. But several cups of coffee donated to the party will give us a monthly budget that will allow us to buy better shirts, stickers, signs, banners, things like that. You want to see a libertarian billboard on the freeway? Guess who's going to pay for it? We are. And with our volunteer time, with our volunteer money, we can do a lot. And so I encourage you, I implore you, I entreat you to seek out that donate button. Let it be your best friend for about 20 minutes. Think about what you're willing to help the party create as a monthly budget so that we can move forward and support the best candidates you've ever had on the ballot.
And not to brag or anything, but multiple people, including myself, have already committed to $10 a month. It's super easy. It just comes out of your account, you don't have to worry about it. It's just like, oh, that was $10. Nice. It's gone. And it helped the party. Don't worry about it.
All right. We shall. If we're going to, do we presume that the one with the highest number of votes is the chair?
It's up to the body.
Oh, he's up to the body. Okay.
I'm going to take the prerogative of appointing the chair. If
Okay.
he's in fact a delegate.
Well, he in fact is delegate, and Rob did in fact get the highest number of votes. Charlene. Willie Marshall. Mike Wilhelm. Greg. Hunter. All right. Brandon. And the other, so everyone else is an alternate. So well done. Thank you for going to Florida. Fantastic job. I wish I could join you, but I'm not able to this year. Andy.
And I'm going to ask everyone who is elected as a delegate or alternate to try and talk to Rob either today or sometime very soon. He will need your information. He will need a mailing address for you, an email for you. And please, 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 if you decide for some reason you can't go to the convention, tell Rob so that we can fill it out again if we need to or whatever. I would be thrilled to see 16 people go. I don't think we have ever filled our entire delegation before. And then again, I don't know that we've ever had quite as good a convention as today.
If you go as an alternate, there's a very good chance you could be seated with another state.
Yes, we have a system in the Libertarian Party that if, for instance, a larger state like California has 100 delegates, and they may have 100, and they only bring 90, they can borrow you. So you can be a delegate if you go, and if you get involved, almost certainly you can find a way to get a vote.
Are all of the states delegates?
Yes. Yes, we are not. We're not in a position. We don't have a bylaw that allows us to bind them. You heard before you voted for them today. You heard how they were leaning, and that's why we told you. Now, I am going to go ahead, and once again, I'm going to ask my counters here And if you want to count to, you can. I'm going to ask, I would like you to just one vote this time. Sense of the meeting as to who you would like to see us support for president. It is something that the delegates will certainly consider. They are not bound, but I'm curious, and I'm sure a lot of them are curious. So, do you have a list of all the? Well, there's 12.
We have the candidates?
Yeah. Do we have a list?
These are the presidential candidates that people have spoken here about.
Okay. All right, let's just stick with that. Let's just stick with that.
Hi y'all, I haven't introduced myself yet. I'm Karen Terrace. I'm the vice chair of the Salt Lake County Libertarian Party. If you're in Salt Lake County and you want to get involved, you can find me. Yeah? Okay, so who here would prefer our delegates vote for Gary Johnson? Please raise your placard, nice and high.
Preference, not voting.
Okay. John McAfee. Austin Peterson. Daryl Perry. I don't even know. Vermin Supreme, is that it?
That's right.
Okay, it looks like the majority are leaning towards Gary Johnson, so if you're a delegate, just keep that in mind at convention that majority of the Utah Libertarian Party seems to be leaning towards Johnson. So.
What was the general count on the other two?
It was 33 for Johnson, 10 for McAfee, 11 for Peterson, so they were neck and neck, and then the other two were lower.
Okay. It's been a long day already. I want to get us out of here as quickly as possible, but we do have a few more items of business. Other candidates. I know we have a few other candidates for state office. Let me start. Our state party treasurer and our cookie gatherer, Chelsea Travis, was here. You saw her wandering around with her baby. She said that he was getting cranky. She left. She is running for the legislature in District 35, which is the city of South Salt Lake. She has run before. She's a great candidate, and she said to make sure that you understand she likes pot. And I'm sure that's an intellectual sort of thing, because we all know that it's still illegal in the state of Utah. But I'm not going to get into that. So I am going to ask your support for Chelsea. She's a great kid. She's quite politically active, and she likes pot. So all those who can join me in supporting Chelsea for District 35, South Salt Lake, please show your. Any opposed? No opposed. Are you running for something? Yes.
Yeah.
Why don't you come down and tell us? This is Brent Zimmerman. He used to be. Were you the party something once? Weren't you the party? Yeah. And I hadn't seen him until you just snuck in. So.
Sorry, ridiculously late. Sorry about that. Brent Zimmerman, running for state representative District 16. I ran before. Got what I consider moderate success for a third party, and I have a website, and I think you can probably guess where I stand on most issues, what with me being libertarian for a long time now. Thanks. Oh, sorry, Leighton. Sorry, Leighton. Yeah. Any other questions?
You like pot as well?
Okay. All right, everybody in favor? Okay, any opposed? Okay, no opposed.
Okay. We've got a couple more candidates. It's Derek, is that right? Come on down. This is the gentleman who gave me a little bit of heart palpitations this past week. I think you were kind of last minute in your filing, are you not? And the Lieutenant Governor's office kept calling me up. Anyway, he's here.
All right, well, my name is Derek Gordon. I'm running for House of Representatives, District 10, which is over Ogden. A couple of things I would like to see done here in Utah is we need some education reform. I believe we need to reallocate some spending from where it's being wastefully spent at this point and giving it to our education so that our children can have that better standard and not be the bottom in the nation on those stats. That's one that's really important to me. Another one, just like a lot of people here, big marijuana reform guy. At least on the medical front at minimum, especially where right now Utah is pushing to crack down on opiate drug prescriptions. We cannot leave people without an option for pain management or management of any myriad of things, such as PTSD, Crohn's disease, glaucoma. There's vast amounts of things that we need to look into at least that. And then one other big thing that I have right now that I've been pushing on is our alcohol laws. They're archaic. We almost had an Oktoberfest without beer. We have restaurants mixing drinks where their customers can't see them. We have nightclubs that don't have happy hours, which people don't want to come into Utah and come to drink. It's affecting our tourism. It's a big thing that we need to push on.
Okay, everybody in favor? It's good. Anybody objecting? Okay. Objections?
Was there an objection, or did you just?
He was just slow. Okay. I'm gonna nominate the next candidate myself up here. I've had the pleasure to get to know Wayne Hall from Iron County over the last few months. He wasn't able to make it today. He's a pretty busy guy out there and way down in Iron County. And he prepared a short little speech that I'm just going to read from here. So he said, "Hey, hello fellow libertarians. My name is Wayne Hall and I'm running for Iron County Commissioner, Seat C. I first want to thank David Rain for handling this in my absence. I'm a small businessman in Cedar City in the towing industry. I learned my experiences of local and state government from the other side of the fence. I have no political aspirations of climbing the ladder of politics. I do, however, want to give the citizens an option to remove inaction of accountability within administrative levels when disciplinary or criminal investigative action is warranted, but never administered. I'm tired of cover-ups and the continual undermining of public trust. If social or church operating procedures get in the way of serving public office fair and equitably, I believe the individual need not apply to serve. I'm outspoken and operate without my hands tied or apron strings tied to county attorney. My knowledge and experience of decades of improprieties hidden from the public persuaded me to make a difference for once. Thank you, respectfully, Wayne Hall." Anybody in support?
Does he like pot?
Okay, anybody opposed? No opposition.
Did I miss any candidates?
Got at least one more. One down there.
Somebody was going to bring a list today. Yeah.
I am running for House District number 6. That is Jake's district, the one that actually worked on the cannabis bill.
I'm clapping because he's in my district, and thank goodness.
Yeah, I did it at the last moment. People were worried about it. I asked who was running. I was really concerned that nobody was running on the Republican ticket that was going to be for liberty. And I'm the working poor.
What city is that?
That is Lehigh.
Is it just Lehigh? Or is it going out to Saratoga?
Lehigh, I believe.
It might go out as far as Saratoga Springs. It does not go out to beyond that.
Yeah, that's for sure. Yes, but
Mostly the city of
Traverse Mountain, I believe, is in that district as well. I am the working poor. I do actually work for a living. I did not want to run. There was no intentions of me ever running. But I looked at this candidacy for about a month and decided, hey, I don't have anybody that represents me. There's nobody on that ticket that represents me. They have a contested primary coming up for the Republican Party. Both of them are on the platform of trying to reform UTA. I'd like to eliminate it. Because I can travel faster on my bicycle with my commuting style than UTA can get me down the road. So it is inefficient, not cost effective. I'd like to do a little bit on the reform of public transit and UDOT. I think they are spending way too much money for what we're getting as benefit packages, and it really isn't working for. And so, yeah.
Tell us your name one more time.
My name's Aaron Davis, and I am running for House District number 6.
I said earlier today that that when I vote in Utah County, I don't have any choices. Republican, 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 and I don't vote Republican, so I don't vote at all. Thank goodness. Thank you. All who can support Mr. Davis. Any opposed? One opposed? Okay. All right. He's not, okay, you were not opposed. You are opposed? Okay, one opposed. All right, any other candidates that I missed? All right, now let me tell you a little bit about the American system that some of you know and some of you don't. When you go to the ballot in November and you vote for president, you don't vote for president. You actually vote for electors. The state of Utah has 6 electors, the same number of people that we have in both houses of Congress. Those electors will have a nice little meeting in January in the governor's office, and those electors will actually cast the votes for the state of Utah. We elect electors, we do not elect presidential people. So, the office of elector is very important. Now, quite frankly, it might just be that the Libertarian electors won't get elected, but we'd like to see them elected, and we certainly have to have them there. So, we need the names of 6 people who will say that they will support the Libertarian Party candidate, whoever he or she may be, and who will go up to the state capitol in January and cast our votes if they are asked to do so. I need the names of 6 people, and Scott is going to take them down. And, all right, let's just
Brian and
start.
I are going to be there at the Capitol.
But you're going to already be there.
After the election.
Yeah, yeah, but whether or not you get to do what I just said is another matter. Would you each stand up in turn and say your name nice and loud for him? Start there.
Kenny Borland.
And I don't know. Well, let's see how many we have first, and then we'll figure out how we're going to do it.
Denise Cox. Denise with a Y.
David Ray. Are you getting all these?
Yeah.
Rob Latham, I've done it before, it's really cool. There's a big
No, you
official
haven't.
living document.
We didn't elect you. Oh, you,
I was a
okay.
presidential
All right,
elect before your
fine.
time.
Kevin Bryan.
Aaron Partridge, me.
Sorry, one more time. What was the last one before?
Kevin Bryan, Aaron Partridge.
James Worker.
Chris Sanders.
Justin Conlon.
Michael Wilhelm.
Eric Gordon.
After Justin Conlon, Michael Wilhelm.
Bye-bye.
Okay.
Eric Gordon.
Bye-bye, baby.
You get her?
I saw baby.
Anybody else? All right. No alternates this time. Only 6.
How many do we have?
I'm sorry, baby. That one.
I rather, you're gonna withdraw, okay. Your name?
want to make it.
Okay.
Baby.
Name?
James
Okay, got that? All right. Anybody else doesn't want to do this because they're gonna have to stand in line with 14 other people? Okay, you do want to do this. 30 seconds, guys. You know, I don't know that you'll have much more to say than your name and 1 or 2 sentences, but 30 seconds. Anyone, once again, line up. Get up here and
Take my name off. It's past lunchtime. Come on. Take my name off. It's cool. Rob can do it.
anyone else who doesn't want to come down here? All right. If you're serious, come down here. And if you're not serious, just don't. Okay.
So the first 6 down get it.
We all good? Okay. Rob Latham, and look, this, if we have an election in Utah, with Hillary Clinton and Donald Trump leading the national tickets, remember Hillary Clinton was defeated by Bernie Sanders in Utah. Donald Trump came in 3rd in Utah in the Republican Party. We just might have the Libertarian candidate be the preferred candidate of Utah voters. So who knows, it might happen. And I would, of course, as a longtime Libertarian, love to be the person that gets to cast that electoral vote for our Libertarian Party candidate. So again, Rob Latham, I'd appreciate your vote.
Yeah. Got it, Rob.
In order that you're sitting.
Okay, again, Chris Sanders. Like I said, I'm new to the party, and I just am excited about this, and excited about being here, and excited about the process. And this is our year. This is our year, and I'm excited to be a part of that. Excited to cast that vote for that. So I'd be more than willing. Thanks.
Hi, my name is Justin Conlon. I've been a longtime Libertarian, and I just recently, in the last month, became a dues-paying member. And I really believe in this party, and I'd love to do whatever I can to help in any way. So I would appreciate your vote. Thank you.
I'm Aaron Partridge. I've been a Libertarian for Utah as long as I can remember. And, well, I just couldn't financially be a delegate this year, but this is my alternative, and that's it.
My name is Kevin Bryan. I'm currently the secretary of the Weber County Party. In my opinion, any of the Libertarian candidates is better than any of the other choices we'll have, so I'll happily support whoever gets the nomination. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Denise Cox. I'm really outgoing. I like to talk to people. I like to talk to people about freedom, and I think it'd just be fun to go talk to people that day and talk to them about freedom. So, I've been a voting libertarian about 12 years, and I finally decided to come out of the closet and start getting more active in the party. So.
My name is Eric Gordon again. I want to do this because I want everyone's voices to be heard, and the person that we choose as a party is obviously who we believe the best, and I want to make sure that is him.
Hi, you guys all know I'm David Rain. I'm the current vice chair for the party here. I'm just excited to be part of the process. I think this is going to be a very pivotal year for the Libertarian Party. I think we have a great chance at making a big difference this year, and like I said, I'm excited to be part of the process. On a side note, this may be a hard choice for voting, and it doesn't have a huge impact on who you elect, so maybe we ought to just do musical chairs.
Jim Dexter, I believe I had to step away for a moment. He's a longtime party supporter, very dedicated, and Karen Terry says she's also fabulous. She's out helping people at the table, so obviously she can't be here to speak. So, two votes apiece.
So you're going to have to figure out your two favorites.
Okay, yeah, so figure out who your two favorites are and you vote for them. Okay, once again, at the top of the list. What is it with you, Rob? You're top of the list. Rob Latham.
Yes. Which vote? Only get two? I just wasted
mine. All right. Denise Cox. Two. You vote for two.
Vote for two.
Okay. All right. Jim Dexter.
I don't have my card, but I count.
Someone check his ID.
He's a lawyer.
He knows. Okay.
I haven't voted for anything all day except for the
David Rain.
Who David? Wait, who? David Rain. Oh, of course. Love you, buddy. He won't back to that. It's vote wrong. Yeah, he's not voting.
Don Johnston. Kevin Bryan. And I'll vote for you too. Aaron Partridge. Chris Sanders. Justin Conlin. Eric Gordon. Karen Terez. Okay. Musical role, I will Okay, we have a tie for the 6th place.
Everybody gets one more vote?
Yeah, everybody gets one vote.
Okay, okay. The tie for 6th place between Kevin Bryan and Eric Gordon. So all votes for Kevin Bryan. Everyone can vote. So Kevin Bryan. Stand up.
Okay.
Kevin Bryan, Eric Gordon. Oh, this is gonna be tough.
Well, okay, for Kevin first, can we
Yes.
get a count? Yes.
Yes.
Okay, without a count, fine, I'll sit down.
Okay. No, I'm sorry. You didn't get a count for Kevin. I'm sorry. No.
We didn't get a count.
So for Kevin.
Would Kevin stand up and the rest of us put our hands up, okay? Or
well. Vote for yourself.
Oh.
Did you change your mind?
Eric Gordon. If we get a tie on this, I That was close. Kevin, congratulations.
Yeah.
Thank you all for volunteering to serve. That's fantastic. We have 6. So we have David Rain, Rob Latham, Denise Cox, Chris Sanders, Eric Gordon, Kevin Bryant. Sorry, Eric. That was it. Yeah. Thank you.
Sure. I'm just about to tell you that. In answer to the question here, we were scheduled to end about 2. We got a half-hour extension because we started a half-hour late. I'm shooting still for 2:30. At this point, I'd like to introduce Willie Marshall. He was set to make a longer speech. He is now going to make a very short speech. And then I'm going to ask the county chairman to talk about the county things for about 2 minutes. And we're going to be out of here shortly. We are finished voting.
That was the end of the vote.
We are finished voting. This is reports.
Okay, I'm Willie Marshall. I've given a speech many times, and actually if you have to leave, you can watch it on YouTube. The whole thing's on there. It's how almost any libertarian who is reasonably presentable can get into public office and what to do when you get there. If you look on YouTube, you can search under Willie Marshall or Gay Mayor, Utah, Libertarian, it'll come right up. Anyway, there's 2 interviews. One's an hour long with Jake Shannon. The other one is a 40-minute speech that I gave on this topic at a previous Utah convention. I'll skip my intro and stuff about how I came to find libertarianism and myself and, all that. But by show of hands, how many here think that you might someday, if not now, want to be in a public office, either appointed or elected? Okay, it's a good number of you. Anyway, I believe that really almost any libertarian who is reasonably presentable can get into public office one way or another, either elected or appointed. There are 3 simple rules to this, I believe, and they are suit up, show up, and play the game. Suit up, that means dress up for it, look the part. I wore a shirt and tie every time I went to a public meeting. I've been in office, six different offices. I was on the Board of Adjustments, I was on Planning Commission, I was on City Council, I was the mayor of Bigwater, Utah, population 416. I was on the Water District Board, and also I was on the Kane County Economic Development or Resource Development Committee. Anyway, and I believe that the reason I got on all those is because I followed these 3 rules. Suit up means basically dress up, look presentable. If I was running for office, I wouldn't have this. I would probably just have some straight mustache. I mean, it's not a big deal, but it's not a matter of principles. Like, oh, I'm going to cut my hair, they have to accept me who I am. Well, that's kind of silly. Just some people, it'll help you, you don't want to give people reasons not to vote for you. It's not a huge thing, but it doesn't help if you got really long. I've had hair down to here, and I've had Duck Dynasty type beard before. But if I was running for office, I probably wouldn't look that way. Because you got to dress up. You got to look nicer. People will give you more respect if you look like, you're running for office. That you take it seriously. When I first got appointed to be on a zoning board, I would wear a shirt and tie to every meeting, even though everybody else was there in t-shirts and flip-flops, and even the mayor would show up at city council meetings wearing a t-shirt with the sleeves cut off, and he was not an attractive man anyway. And and I just, they kind of made fun of me when I started coming to these meetings dressed up, but I took it seriously, and I found that they took me seriously when I did that too. So anyway, don't let your looks distract from your message. It's not a sellout on principle to get a haircut. You can be a pothead or whatever and get elected. It just doesn't help you a whole lot if you look like a pothead if you're running for office. So let's see. Show up means to show up in your community. Get involved in whatever civic organizations there are in your community, Rotary, Chamber of Commerce, things like that. It wouldn't hurt to go to church. Now some libertarians go, that's terrible. But you can, going to church is a good thing. Like it or not, church attendance is important to many Americans. And even if you don't go to their church, the fact that you go to a church helps. And you don't have to, and at church you'll meet nice people who will vote for you because they know you. Oh, I know so-and-so, he goes to our church. And they'll vote for you. That's all the reason some people need to vote for you, is because they kind of know you. And besides, don't we as libertarians believe that voluntary organizations are a good way to help people in need and so on? Therefore, we should show by our own example that we do what we say. And if you don't have to even believe in God, if you don't believe in God, you can at least be a Unitarian, and I'm serious about that. But I think, I went to the Episcopal Church when I was down at Bigwater, and they were very supportive of me as mayor. I don't recall that there were I don't know, there might have been one or two people there that were from my town, but they were just really wonderful to me and very supportive. They prayed for me, and when I did my marijuana thing, and they were all very supportive. We'll get to that. So another thing about showing up in your community is be friendly, be a good neighbor, be a good example with people, clean up your yard, be helpful to your neighbors. Play the game means get out and campaign. Meet as many people as you possibly can. I went to every single door in my town, and I wore a shirt and tie, on all that door knocking. And when you meet people, say, "Can I count on your vote?" Now that's important, because when you say that to them, they'll either say yes, or they'll say no, or they'll say, "Well, I'll think about it." If they say yes, that's a vote you can count on. They have verbally committed to you. They've kind of made an investment in you, even if it's just a little mental, verbal investment. And they're also likely to talk to their other, friends and acquaintances about who they're voting for, because the topic does come up. But anyway, so then you can ask them, if you want, you could ask them for a donation or a yard sign or something like that. Don't be shy. Be polite and nice to everyone, even your opponents and people you despise who are in office. Politics does make strange bedfellows, and so be nice to people, because you never know who you're going to be sleeping with tomorrow. And I mean that figuratively. But I mean, when I got elected mayor, I had dealings with people that I really did kind of despise, like bigwigs in county politics and stuff, and I just thought they were sleazy and corrupt and all that. But I was actually able to work with them because I was on polite and friendly terms with them, and I was actually able to work with them to get some of the things done that I wanted to do, whereas if I'd have been, kind of confrontational with them, that wouldn't have happened. So, anyway, I believe that most people will vote for you in a local race if they met you and if they like you and they think you're a good person. Smile at everybody sincerely and as much as you can. If you aren't naturally cheerful, you might need to work on that. People don't really care so much about issues or where you stand, not nearly as much as if they feel like they know you and that they like you. This doesn't mean that issues aren't important, but if people don't like you, they're not going to vote for you. If they do like you, they'll probably vote for you even if they don't agree with you on many things. Or even if they don't know where you stand for it. And their votes count just as much as somebody who is 100% behind what you stand for. So I kind of believe that your image is maybe 50% of getting elected. Your issues is maybe 20%, 10%. The person, well, actually, image isn't 50%. I'd say the personal contact is 50%. That's really what it amounts to, is getting out and meeting those people, knocking on those doors, presenting yourself well, and pick one or two issues that you can make your own. There is Alex Joseph, who was the polygamous mayor of Bigwater before me. He used to quote an Indian chief, and he says, "There go my people. I must hasten after them, for I am their leader." And so kind of pick one or two issues and make them your own. You don't have to talk about the entire Libertarian platform and our secret agenda in your race, even if they ask you about it. You take your two issues and you hammer them home. If they ask you about, well, what do you think about heroin for 6-year-olds or abortion or, whatever, then things, you don't have to answer them. You don't need to let them set you up. You just talk about, I'm running for office because these are my issues. I want to cut taxes and I want to repeal my own salary. Those are the two issues I ran on when I ran for mayor. The incumbent had voted herself a $13,000 a year salary, but this is for a town of 400 people. And I researched all of Utah, and towns of under 1,000 people don't have paid mayors generally, with the exception of ski resort towns like Alta and Bryan Head, where they got millions of dollars and it's a big deal. But little towns like ours, no. The one exception was Orderville, which was about the same size as us. They paid their mayor $150 a year. So I thought that was really excessive, and I ran against it, and I won. But anyway, what can a mayor do? Actually, they can do a lot. I prepared the budget. I chaired all the meetings. I appointed all the people to all the boards, the planning and zoning, the board of adjustments. I hired the police. I appointed the judge and the prosecutor. And so I used, of course, Libertarian criteria in hiring and appointing all these people as much as I could. Unfortunately, I ran into some cases where I couldn't find anybody good to appoint to certain boards and things, and I had to just kind of take what was left. And that was pretty sad. So that brings part of the thing I wanted to talk about is getting elected is not the only way to get into office. If you're a reasonably nice person, you can know people who are in office, even people you run against. If they win and you don't, you can go to them, and if you're on good relations with them, you can talk to them about, hey, Mr. Mayor, or Councilman, or whatever, if there's a vacancy on a board, I'd be interested in serving. And if they don't view you as a real enemy, they very well may appoint you to it. I got appointed to two boards, the water board and the county resource board. And those people were not libertarian-minded at all who appointed me. And I think there's a lot of boards, like I say, they need good people to be on them, and the pickings are pretty poor sometimes. So, anyway, the first, gosh, we're going to be thrown out? Okay. Oh gosh. Well, as I said, mayors have a lot of power. I promised that I would only use my powers for good and never for evil, and I did a pretty good job. My two promises were to repeal my own salary and to cut taxes. I did both. I repealed my own salary in the very first meeting, and that made a headline, of course. And then I cut taxes by 50% across the board for all 4 years that I was mayor. And the town treasurer, who was not one of my people at the first, she said, well, if you cut taxes by 38%, which was my original figure, the town will go bankrupt. Well, I cut them by 50% and we didn't go bankrupt, and I got a new treasurer. And so Then I decriminalized marijuana in my town. That was my first headline, actually. It was the very first meeting after I got elected. The person I beat, the incumbent, she was so humiliated that this gay guy beat her that she left town. She put her house up for sale and left town that day after the election, and we didn't see her for months. And I was already on city council, so I chaired the next meeting, and it was in November after the election day, and so I chaired the meeting, and so I sprang this decriminalization ordinance on them, and what it was is it basically said possession of up to 1 ounce of marijuana in big water will be punishable by a fine not to exceed $10. And paraphernalia would be $5. And we offered also a plea in abeyance that if they, basically, plea in abeyance is where your plea, your guilty or not guilty plea is held in abeyance. It's held aside, and if you can, complete a little period of good behavior, whatever, 6 months or something, then the charge is dismissed, so you don't have a criminal record. So that's basically what we passed. And it was according to Utah law. Utah law basically said pleas in abeyance are totally legal. If you ever get a traffic ticket and you want to fight it, go ask for a plea in abeyance. It won't show up on your record. You'll maybe pay the fine, and you won't have the points on your license. But anyway, same thing on the marijuana. Utah law says that the fine for marijuana possession up to 1 ounce is from 0 to, $16.50 or something like that? And so we didn't actually violate Utah law. We just said, well, our standards in big water is going to be 0 to $10. And it was fun because when I proposed this at the city council meeting, I knew that the members of the council were pretty libertarian, but there's this one guy who goes, well, I don't know. We sent a message to kids that it's okay to smoke pot. And I said, no, we're sending a message that punishment should fit the crime, and this one does. Because it was way less than a parking ticket. And but anyway, so he voted for it too, so it passed unanimously. And I went home and wrote in my journal, damn, I could talk these people into anything. So, anyway, it was fun, but we had some, it's all history, but the state took great exception, the county sheriff took great exception to our ordinance, and they invaded the town just like 2 weeks later, 1 week later. And 5 cop cars came to town, highway patrol cars, and started ticketing everybody for everything. Failure to signal, a cracked tail light, not having your child in a car seat, things like that. And they didn't find any drugs, but one of the officers said, well, this is happening because Big Water has a drug problem. But they were doing it as, it was, retaliation for this law that they thought was quite threatening to, the establishment. So a month later, I think I'm getting the thing. Well, anyway, so what are the 3 rules on getting elected? Number 1, suit up, show up, play the game. Anyway, if you're interested, you can see it on YouTube. And one thing about playing the game is highly recommend. Libertarians love to read. Here's a classic. Dale Carnegie's How to Win Friends and Influence People. Kind of corny, but hey, it works, and it's great, and it'll change your life.
We are about to be thrown out, so I was going to introduce the county chair for a brief thing, and I'm not going to do that. They are right here and right here. Talk to them outside on the way out. Sorry about that. We started a little late. We're ending a little late. So we're adjourned.
Don't leave, if you see a political sign, don't let it.
Hey, I'm sorry to hear about your dad. I didn't know he passed away. I had a lot of respect for him.
Hey, thanks. Yeah, Brent Zimmerman, live in Layton, running for State Representative District 16.
All right.
That's Layton and a little bit of Clearfield.
Okay.
Yep. All right. And not my first time running for that office.
Yeah. All right.
Jeff Grubb from down in Eagle Mountain. You're right. And looking to vote for Gary Johnson.
I'm Mason and I'm from Sandy.
Thanks very much.
I'm Brady from Sandy.
James, Salt Lake City, up at the U.
All right.
Nick from Sandy.
Hey, I'm Hunter Patterson. and I live in Cottonwood Heights, and I'm here as a state director for the Gary Johnson campaign.
All right.
All right. And I am now a delegate, thanks to these graceful people who nominated me and voted me in. I'm excited to go to Orlando. Any questions I could answer for you? Okay, thank you.
Hi, Kenny Barlow. I'm from Orem, Utah.
Did you raise your? Well, you voted today, didn't you?
Yes.
There we go.
I voted for the people.
Yeah.
To party.
All right.